We're going to be a couple minutes late. To 7, we'll start the meeting of the Board of Appeals. I just want to say all meetings are televised and are available on demand by Chelmsford Telemedia. Please note that while an option for remote attendance and/or participation is being provided as a courtesy to the public, the meeting hearing will not be suspended or terminated if technical problems interrupt the virtual broadcast unless required by law. Okay, the agenda. Public input. Public input shall be limited to statements from the public relating to any issue with the jurisdiction of the Chelmsford Zoning Board of Appeals that are not currently the subject of a pending public hearing before the Zoning Board of Appeals. Public comment on any pending public hearing shall only be heard during such public hearing and may be limited to 3 minutes. So, anyone want to speak about anything? Okay. Next thing on the agenda is board reorganization. We'll have to do the chair, vice chair, and clerk. I believe we've never had a clerk, so we'll start with the chair. Anyone want to nominate someone for chair?
Jamie.
All right, I got a nomination for Jamie. Stephen? Second. That's enough. Anyone want to nominate anyone else for chair? Seeing none, we'll open the, we'll vote on it. Jamie for chair. Aye.
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 Gotta take a roll call.
Glenn?
Yeah,
Oh,
take
It's gotta
a
be roll call.
a roll call. Danny?
Yes.
Yes. Pete?
Yes.
Yes.
I can't
Jamie?
vote on myself, can I?
I
Yeah,
think you
you
can.
Yes?
Yeah.
Yes.
I vote yes.
Fine.
Stephen?
Yes.
Don't forget Glenn.
Glenn? Jamie for chair.
And he's frozen.
No, he's good.
He's
He's
good.
good. His eyes moved.
Oh, we moved, okay. Okay, so that's,
Did he say something?
yeah, he said he rolled his eyes.
Glenn, can you hear us?
I don't get any audio.
That's gotta be on your end. All right, well, can move on to.
Okay, okay, for vice chair,
I get it now.
okay, for vice chair, I need some nominations.
You.
I nominate Charlie for vice chair.
Okay, have a nomination from
I
you,
nominate
Jamie,
Charlie for vice.
second by Danny.
Yes.
Okay, any other nominations for vice chair? Hearing none, I'd like to make a vote, vice chair for Charlie. Danny,
Yes.
Pete,
Yes.
Jamie,
Yes.
Charlie, yes. Stephen,
Yes.
Glenn.
I saw him
Yes, I
say
heard a yes. Okay. I didn't speak to Becky about this, but we've never had a clerk, and a clerk usually signs our motions and signs our decisions. So we're gonna have a clerk. You don't want to have a clerk, Glenn? I mean, Evan?
You don't need one. We don't need one.
We don't need one. Okay, that's good. Meeting date confirmation. August, we have no meeting, but I think we should discuss that. Because we have a few things on the agenda, right? Evan?
So Becky informs me that there's 2 applications have been submitted.
Okay,
So if you have a meeting in August, those 2 new items would be on the agenda, and then whatever is continued from tonight.
okay. I'm okay with having a meeting in August if we need it.
I'm here. Everyone make it.
I'm
Okay.
here.
We don't even need a vote.
August 6th?
August 6th.
Okay.
And the rest of the meetings are all September 3rd, October 1st, November 5th, and December 3rd.
Okay.
Since I'm no longer the chair, I'd like to turn it over to Jamie.
Oh, thank you.
You're very welcome.
We gotta switch sheets too?
No,
Yes.
So kind, isn't he?
Change your nameplates too.
Yeah, we're gonna do that.
And don't drink that caffeine.
Oh, I'm not. Excuse me.
All right. How's everyone tonight? We ready to get started? All right. There are no administrative reviews, so tonight, we'll start with the first public hearing, which is to be continued for 1 Smith Street, choice housing opportunities for the intergenerational and community endeavors. Requesting a comprehensive permit pursuant to Chapter 40B, the proposed development of the Chelmsford Housing Authority site, which will include demolition of all existing units and the construction of 96 new units of senior 62-plus rental housing. Please state your name and address for the...
Good evening, newly appointed Madam Chair. For the record, Attorney Melissa Robbins from Farrell & Robbins. Good evening. As Madam Chair has stated, we're here tonight for a continued public hearing. At the last public hearing, we'd actually gone through most of the issues, but we did have some outstanding DPW comments, and we did respond to every single comment in writing. You have response letters from every single department that had outstanding comments saying that they have no further comment, and DPW had no further comment as well. We did work with Evan to draft conditions of approval and a decision that's in your packet this evening. We've also updated the plan set to include all of the items that were highlighted in the DPW response letter. Madam Chair, since the DPW letter is, what we did was cut and paste the comments and add our responses to the DPW comment letter, I would request that the board waive the reading of all of those comments if the board's inclined to do so, since those were already in record and it's just our responses. And all of those responses are collected in the comprehensive permit decision the board has in the packet this evening. I know it's a little out of your purview, but I know it came up at the last meeting, but we also did meet with Conservation after your last meeting. They were waiting for stormwater responses from DPW, which we have. So we anticipate that they will close their meeting next week as well, and we'll get our notice of intent next week for this project. So everything's going well. David couldn't be here this evening, but Kirk Fulton from Chelmsford Housing Authority is here, as well as Don Rose, the project engineer. So if you have any questions for us, we're happy to answer it, but I think all outstanding comments have been dealt with.
Evan, we usually read everything into record, so we okay just...
Yeah, you can waive the reading.
Okay.
I mean, I assume everybody's reviewed what's online.
It's long.
Yeah, it's very long.
It's long.
Yep.
Break you in.
Way to bring me in. My inaugural reading.
Madam Chair, if it was something new to record, I wouldn't ask for the waiving, but since it's already in record, that's why I suggested waiving the reading. Save you some time this evening. Yeah.
Any questions from the board? Anybody in the audience have any comments, questions, or concerns? Okay. I'll take a motion.
I'd like to make a motion that we close the public hearing for 1 Smith Street.
Second by Stephen. All in favor? Oh, I'm sorry. We have to take a roll call. Danny?
Yes.
Yes.
Charlie?
Yes.
Yes.
Glenn?
Yes.
All right, it's unanimous. Public hearing is closed. Any discussion needed?
This is a good thing for our community.
I agree. Questions?
Very appropriate.
Make a motion?
I'll take a motion.
Make a motion to approve the comprehensive permit pursuant to MGL Chapter 40B for 1 Smith Street, Chelmsford Arms, with respect to the letters that were not read into the record.
But submitted.
But submitted.
But submitted.
Second.
Second? All right, roll call.
Per the draft decision?
Per the draft decision, yes. Danny? How do you
Yes.
vote?
Yes.
Yes.
Charlie?
Yes.
Stephen? Glenn, how do you vote?
Yes.
It's unanimous. Thank you.
Good luck with it.
Thank you very much, members of the board. Just on behalf of Chelmsford Housing Authority, Choice, and SCG, we're excited to get started. We'll keep the board informed of when we get funding and when we're ready to move forward. So thank you very
Excellent.
much.
Have a good night.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Jamie, are you able to come by the office tomorrow morning to sign the decision?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Want to come by like around 10, 10:30?
All right, second hearing is for 243 River Neck Road. They're reapplying for a comprehensive permit. This has been requested to be continued without discussion. So I'll take a motion.
Motion to 43 Riverneck Road to continue without discussion.
Second?
Second by,
Probably to a date,
Yeah, to
till August,
on August 6th.
August
the
6th.
August 6th meeting.
Yeah,
Yep.
August 6th meeting.
Second.
Second by Stephen. Danny, how do you vote?
Yes.
Yes.
Charlie? Stephen? Glenn, how do you vote?
Yes.
It's unanimous. Moving along, new public hearings. Windermere Lane, owner Windermere at Chelmsford Condominium Trust in care of Perkins and Antil PC.
That's right.
Requesting an administrative appeal zoning, under zoning bylaw section 195-102 to appeal the building commissioner's decision requiring their continued maintenance of trees located on the berm area of the property abutting 217 Princeton Street in accordance with the previously approved 40B comprehensive permit. Please state your name and address for the record.
Good evening, Madam Chair, members of the board. My name is Scott Erickson. I'm a shareholder with the firm of Perkins and Ansel. We represent the Windermere at Chelmsford Condominium Trust. As Madam Chair said, we are here tonight appealing a decision or a notice of the building department that was issued on May 15th of this year. The notice is a bit unclear. It says, if such barrier no longer exists, it is my opinion that such buffer trees need to comply per the approved plans, and any missing cutoff or dead trees need to be reintroduced as intended. We'll go back in time. 23 years ago, this project was approved in May of 2003. In connection with the approval, the developer, as an accommodation to an abutter, was required to install an L shape of trees around the side and rear lot line of the abutting property. That was done. Those trees are still there today. Those trees are 20 years older now. So those trees are pines. I would love an opportunity to conduct a site visit with the group to show you that those trees are, in our opinion, still there, still functioning as the screening as they were intended in connection with the condition that was approved in 2003. Obviously, the trees have aged. So at the bottom, the pines are not getting as much sun. Some of the lower branches are dying off, but the trees are alive and they're still there. The condominium trust, once we received this letter, has engaged 2 arborists who came out to look at the property. The challenge that we present to the board now is these arborists tell us that the concentration of trees, the number of trees and the size of the trees in place here really doesn't make sense. They're going to sort of starve each other out for resources and sunlight and everything else. So in terms of adding more trees or adding new screening, we're not really sure that's viable. We're open to work with the board and the neighbor to make sure that there's appropriate screening in place, but our view is that the screening as intended still exists in its appropriate condition.
Which line
Sure.
of
So
trees
can I-
are we
can I
talking?
Come around here. So
Please.
we're talking about, this is Windermere Lane, so this is the
Yep.
entrance to the condominium property. We're talking about this line here, and it wraps around there.
So the cul-de-sac is yours as well?
Yes, correct.
Okay.
So, and these trees are there. I drove out there just before this meeting tonight. I mean, they're there. What you see is the top, is obviously, looks pretty thick here. On the lower side of the trees, because they are pines, they're a little leaner, right? The pines are there, but the branches that are not getting as much sun are not as green.
Do you know where the neighbor who's making the request is? Is it
Well, I think the neighbor who brought this to the attention of the board is here.
okay?
So I guess we're looking for clarity and direction. Again, we want to be good neighbors. The condominium wants to be a responsible steward of their property. But there are a couple things in play here. One, when the condition was approved, it really only reads that the applicant, then the developer, was required to install these screening trees prior to construction. The the decision itself does not go on to say that they shall be maintained. There's nothing that's sort of carried over in terms of condominium covenants that talk directly about these trees or ongoing maintenance obligations. I would also, again, say that, you know, for the most part, the buffer remains intact. It may not be exactly as it was, but I don't know that it ever would be, right? And again, based on the feedback that we've gotten from the arborists, we're not sure that the design or what was intended originally is really an appropriate functional design to support the health and life of those trees.
Can I just, you're asking to appeal the building commissioner's letter, but you're also saying you're willing to work with the arborist to improve the screening that's currently there.
To the extent necessary. I guess what's challenging for us with respect to the building commissioner's letter is it's not exactly clear to us what they're asking us to do, right? It says, if such barrier no longer exists, it is my opinion that such buffer tree lines need to comply per the approved plans, and any missing cutoff or dead tree needs to be reintroduced as intended. I'm not really sure what the commissioner believes may be missing.
Okay.
So it's hard for us to comment specifically.
Okay.
Yes, Madam Chair. So the intent of the letter, if per my conversation with Evan before I sent the letter out, Evan and I discussed it, and the proposal of the trees was to create a buffer, a barrier between the two houses. I pay a visit to the home maybe 2 or 3 times, and I mean, you can touch the person's deck on the other side. Gervais, I'm sorry if I pronounce your name wrong. That's good. Okay, thank you. So you no longer, if you're on their side, you can see everybody grilling on their side because there's nothing there. The tree, with time, I agree, the tree, they grew. It is my understanding that on the letter, I think I'm pretty specific that if the buffer zone is no longer there, the aggrieved person, in this case the condominium, has to abide by what the Board of Appeal at that time approved, which it was the rows of trees as a barrier condition to the neighbor.
And just to clarify, the trees are still there. It's just that, again, at the lower level, they're pretty much just trunk.
So the tree's still there. It's just that the proximity of the Gervais and the condominium, the barrier that it was supposed to be intended with the trees is no longer in existence. So some of the trees are, when I visited the site, it appeared that I noticed some of the stump from previous trees probably cut down. Based on the site plan and my conversation with Evan, the trees needs to be replaced somehow to serve the intended use at the time, which is the barrier between the two properties.
Pretty much is no longer, in your opinion, it's no longer being an effective screening at eye level.
That's correct.
Okay.
So even in the future, if you were to take those trees down and add new ones, the same thing's going to happen again. Would a fence work as a visual buffer?
Perhaps, right. And I guess that obviously isn't part of the condition. You know, frankly, neither is eliminating all these trees and planting new trees, right?
Correct.
I mean, I think that goes far beyond what the condition intended. What was intended was completed. It's just that now we're 23 years down the road.
Just to provide some additional context, all decisions, as far as the town is concerned, whether it's planning board or zoning board, your decisions reference plans. Those are conditions of the approval. As far as we're concerned, it goes without saying that everything shown on the plan is to be maintained in compliance. The decision does not need to specifically say that landscaping, stormwater, lighting, pavement is to be maintained. It is assumed. So I don't, in no circumstances do I want the zoning board or the planning board to consider that legal consideration. If you do that, then all of your decisions are meaningless.
I think,
So then we go on to literal enforcement. The plan shows a double row of arborvitae, and let's assume it called for 40 plants. Yes, it's 30 years later. We knew from day one, or people who were involved in the project from day one should have known that 30 years later, that proposed landscaping was not going to be an effective means. That's exactly what happened. But for purposes of enforcement, which is what Jose and I are doing on behalf of the board, it's a literal count. We're not making a determination about, half of them are living and half of them aren't. What's the primary purpose? And then how was that approved? So I think as the petitioner is indicating, there's obviously room for reasonable discretion and interpretation, but that's not for Jose and I to determine.
I would say, a bit more nuanced. Obviously, the trees grew, right? Now we know, with the benefit of decades, that the plan was not a good one. My view, the condominium's view, is that, asking them to remove and install a different type of screen is a totally new condition altogether.
So I'm usually not this vocal on these things, but this is very, very basic. If they wanted to, Windermere Association, they could go in, remove everything, and replace it per the original approval. Jose and I would have no problem with that. That's maintaining landscaping.
Except the cost of removing and replacing mature, healthy trees would be overly burdensome to the community.
They could, for literal enforcement, they could go in and plant new ones so that the count is per the original approval. I'm not suggesting that makes any sense. That's exactly what the petitioner is saying. It doesn't make a lot of sense. Through this zoning board process, as the petitioner has indicated, there may be means to revisit those buffer lines and modify and come to an agreed, modification that makes more sense.
I mean, in the end, if we do the exact same thing, we're gonna get the exact same issue 20 years from now. So, in my opinion, I think if we can look at keeping those trees and adding a fence as an additional buffer, it's still gonna provide the same exact screening that was intended from the beginning.
Why do we want to keep the trees?
Because I'm sure those are those second level, like there's
yeah,
2 stories?
They're pretty tall trees.
Yeah, so and they're 2-story houses, the intent when the visual buffer was installed, I'm assuming, was to eventually grow and provide a full screening of all of those back of those houses. And they didn't think about the fact that with pines, the bottoms of those trees always die out.
Is there anybody else that wants to speak about this?
So, yes, let's open up let's open up for public hearing. Is there anyone in the audience who'd like to speak on this matter? Come on up to the podium and please state your name and address for the record.
Can you bring my water over? Okay, I'm Linda Gervais
And I'm Joe Gervais.
of 217 Princeton Street, where the abutters. And before I start, I just want to apologize because I don't really like doing this. So if my voice gets soft or too fast, just signal me to.
Yep.
And I just want to apologize too for, I'm probably going to get emotional, I already am. So, I just want to give you a little background first. Joe and I have been living in this house for 38 years. Very happy in this house. His grandmother bought this house, and then his parents, and then us, and our children. We had 5 generations in this home. This is our little safe haven, this little piece of land, that's all we have. We're both from North Chelmsford. We both lived in the same neighborhood. I grew up on Crystal Lake. I'm a Gaudette. So we've been in the same area for all our lives. So about 35 years ago, they, Finnegan and Cates built Village of Meadowood, and I'm bringing that up because it'll help me later on to explain something. And so Jay said, we have the entrance of Village of Meadowood in Windermere in our backyard. I don't know if you want me to show you that on there, but. So Jay had come to me, Jay Finnegan, and said, Linda, do you want a fence? I said, yes. I'm not against fences. Fences are wonderful if they're put in the right spots. And it helped us, you know, with the traffic and the lighting. So, I gotta put my glasses on. Okay, so then about 15 years ago, Meadowood decided to take down that fence and put a vinyl one because it was wood, and that was fine. I went out to ask them what was going on, and they felt that they should be able to extend it. So I said, no, you can't do that. You have to keep the exact measurements. That's the condition. I was told by one of the residents down there was to keep the riffraff out, meaning me and my family, which didn't go over too good. So anyway, and they cut limbs off the pine trees of the berm for Windermere. And I said, you can't do this, and they did. So I came over to the town, went to a board meeting, and I won the case. And no one ever did anything about it. And I just let it go because I had just lost my best friend, and I was in no condition to do any of this. So now we have Windermere 23 years ago. And all this land, the 10 acres, belonged to the Kirks, who lived on that 10 acres of land. And the Gervais and the Kirks were good neighbors for all their lives. Joe used to have his pigeons out there on their land, his gardens. That's what good neighbors were. Just to fill you in, I don't know if people in even Windermere realize what that land was. It wasn't all flat. It was like a forest out there. There was all these beautiful trees. There was paths. There was hills. They came in and knocked down every tree there was, knocked down all the hills, and built Windermere. So people might think it was all flat out there, but it wasn't. It was beautiful land. So now Jay decides to do a 40B, which we were against because it's too many houses. It was quite crowded. As you can see, well, we have like, what? All these houses surround us. So, and I'm not saying anything bad about the people. It's just that it's quite crowded, all those houses. So of course we came to all the meetings and fought the 40B. And of course it went in. And so we sat down with Jay, and Jay said, do you want a fence? I said, no, please. We have one fence in our backyard. He said, what would you like to do? So we sat down, and I had brought a picture to the meeting of a development, I believe it was in Lexington, and there was condominiums, like 3 stories high, and they had built a border, and you couldn't even see them. So Jay said, yeah, I'll do that for you. We'll put 2 rows. So, so that's what he did. Okay, there we go. Okay, so everything went along fine for a little while because the trees were like, Jay put in 12 to 14 foot trees, 10 feet apart. And it was fine for a few years because we wanted them to grow a little bit because they then blocked out their windows so that they had more privacy, they couldn't see us. And their lighting out in the development used to shine right in our house, and it blocked out that. But the one thing we forgot to put in, I guess, like as Evan was saying, was we didn't put maintain. And I just assumed, you know, it's your trees, you have to maintain them. So that's what I was told by the development, that they were not going to maintain them anymore. I just felt like good neighbors maintain their trees and take care of them. I work on a lot of developments, and I have never seen anybody not maintain their trees. Jay Finnegan put a lot of money into these trees for us, and they were never watered or taken care of. So Joe and I took pictures if you want to pass them out.
All right, to come up there and pass them around.
Sure.
So you can see, like, for several years, the trees were healthy
Thank
and
you.
growing and thick. They're not the best pictures, but something.
Thank you.
And if anybody has a pine tree, they know that, you know, if you don't keep trimming them, the branches just get long, everything's on the end of the branch and nothing's in the middle. So everyone says, you know, I keep hearing that they were too close. Well, obviously they weren't, because they were growing for many years. And for many years after this, you know, they started getting skimpy and growing out of shape. I started calling the property manager, Rhonda, and we worked well for many years. There's a picture in there that shows one winter how the trees were so close to our garage. They were hitting our garage. And so I told her, and they came out and cut them down. And trying to be good neighbors and work with these people, the board, we told them, no, you don't have to replace them. It's okay. It's our side of the garage. Thinking that, you know, we'll be good neighbors. Where am I now? In one of the conditions, our neighbor, George Zaroulis, he was on, some of you probably know him, he was on a lot of the boards. These are the same trees that go around the whole development, not just our property. We're the only ones that have 2 rows, but these trees go around this whole development. And George was smart enough to put maintain in his conditions. Also in the conditions, it says that the town will not be responsible for any of their landscaping. Now, these trees are out on Princeton Street too. And, you know, I'm thinking, if one of those falls out there, Chelmsford's not gonna go out and take care of it. I'm not gonna take care of it, so who's gonna take care of it? I would think Village of Windermere. So this kind of all started, this little episode, was because I have been working with Rhonda telling her, like, a few years ago, they cut, like, all their dead branches off their side, and I said to Rhonda, when are you gonna do our side? And she said, oh, let me get back to the board, and she never gets back. And now it's at the point that she hangs up on me when I say who it is, but that's neither here nor there. But, so I have told them, please. And I think it was in 2017, they had Iron Tree come out, and we let them go on our property with all their trucks and stuff, and they cut the trees on the tops. Well, unfortunately, I didn't get a picture of that, but the tops, as you can see when you look down, how bushy and thick they are. You can't even see through them, because they took care of the top. But now, when it's windy, which it has been a lot lately, those things are rocking and rolling. I just wonder, like, you know, those things are 40 to 50 feet high now. How high are they gonna let these things go? 80 feet? I have grandchildren that play in my yard, and, you know, I don't want them to hit my house, and that's how close we are. And these trees were never intended to be 40, 50 feet high on a 4-foot berm. You know, if the trees were kept smaller, it would have been fine, if they kept in trimming them. I know that they had said that they like to bring, like, an arborist from Iron Tree out, or Emmanuel. Well, those are the people that work for them, so I don't think that's too, you know, I think that's a little one-sided. For all these years, they have never come on, well, in order to take care of these trees on our side of the trees, they'd have to come on our property, which they do sometimes. But we've been the ones that rake the leaves out there, because they've never done any of that. And we have to, because they're blowing our yard. They have a garden down the end of the development. They go down there and clean it out and leave the leaves in our driveway for hours. Never said anything.
Are the trees on your side of the property, or their side of the property, or both?
Trees are on their berm.
All condominium side,
Yeah.
okay.
Right.
Okay,
That's the berm.
yeah, so there's, okay.
Now, far as a fence, it's kind of hard to have a fence out there after you've had trees, and you looked out. And that's why I wanted to have trees, so we could feel a little bit that everything wasn't taken away from us. And if they put a fence, the fence would be, well, from here to that wall that we'd be looking at. And we're looking at a fence that would be 180 feet long in our front yard and 190 feet long on our side yard. We're not talking a little fence. And the fence would be useless because it would not go high enough to cover their windows. So, and I don't know if they would admit to putting up a fence or not, but I don't know if that's their plan, because they had it all surveyed, and that cost a lot of money. And I thought it was a little rude that no one ever came and knocked on our door and said that they were gonna be out there. It was my granddaughter that said, "Minnie, there's someone out in your yard." So I thought that was a little pushy to, I didn't have a problem with them surveying, but gee, Les, no. And also, if they put a fence on the side of our garage, one of our other conditions was that Jay put in a French drain, and then it goes into a catch basin. And right now, the way it is surveyed, they'd be putting that fence right on top of that, so I don't know what they want to do about that. And also, one of our conditions was, at the end of our driveway to get out, we had to have a clear sight line. So if they would put a fence, I don't know how far they thought that they were gonna put that, but. So, I guess that's about, so I guess, you know, I'm just really surprised that I'm here, because I always felt like once the conditions were set, you don't change them. That's the way it is. And there's a lot of means to get through all that. Now I think that they don't have to keep those. I know that they said the trees are still there, but if they had kept them up a little bit over the years, we wouldn't be here. They'd be beautiful. Everybody'd be happy. I know the neighbors on that line there, they don't have any privacy, but they bought into that. We didn't buy into a 40B right next to people.
Okay. Glenn, do you have a question for her?
Well, question and a comment. Have you had any problems with sap raining down on you?
I was going to put that in there. We had our driveway seal coated last year. This year, after the winter, we were like, you know, sweeping up, and all the seal coat came up. So luckily, our guy came back and he said, "This has never happened." So when he was sweeping up, he picked up the pieces and said, "This is from the sap coming off those trees onto your driveway, because the limbs are so long now."
All right, well, you know, I empathize with you. I live in the condominium complex not far from where you are, and I'm very familiar with both Windermere and Meadowood. And maintenance of trees, it doesn't seem to be a high priority among condominium associations. It's kind of one of the last things that they think about. And I had to, at my own expense, have a 40-inch trunk pine tree removed because I couldn't go outside my door without getting rained on by pine sap. And it was true of a lot of people, and all of us faced the same issue. We had to pay to have the trees removed. Now, the association was nice enough to allow that to happen, but we still had to pay for it ourselves. And it would seem that I would agree with Evan that this issue does not seem to be in the preview of the ZBA. It really is a condominium association problem, and it requires negotiation with them. You know, certainly if you could turn the clock back, you could pick a different tree species that would grow to an X height, very bushy but low. The die has already been cast, and it's up to the petitioner to work with their condominium association to come up with a reasonable result. And I feel for them, but I don't believe it's a problem for the ZBA.
Was that what you said, Evan?
Can I just add something else too?
Let me just,
Okay.
Evan, could you?
You have a valid appeal in front of you from Windermere. The board has three choices. You can uphold Jose's determination, which means that Jose will literally require them to replant material that's missing so that the count is per the approved plan. Not suggesting that that's a logical or reasonable approach, but that's zoning enforcement. Second is to overturn. Basically, that would mean that the zoning board is saying either this is not literal zoning compliance issue, or the zoning board is saying something else. And the third option is to seek some sort of alternative resolution. Which, you know, in my estimation, would require the two parties to convene and then come back to the board. I mean, unless the board wants to try to dictate an outcome.
Yeah, but nothing you said was that this was not in the purview of the board to make a decision, correct?
We have to make something.
Yeah.
Yeah, you have to make some sort of decision. I think what Glenn is referring to is my initial comment was that the decision assumes that there's gonna be maintenance. That maintenance wasn't gonna be done by Jay Finnegan, the original 40B applicant. It was gonna be done by the association. And in fact, there's a condition in there that says such.
Any other questions from the board for this?
I think his hand is up again.
Glenn, you have another question?
No,
Okay.
that's it. I feel for the applicant, but it seems to be, having lived in a condominium association, been chairman of the board of the association, and these issues come up, it's really a condominium association problem with the applicant, and for them to work together to come up with some reasonable solution that will satisfy all the parties.
Okay. Is there anybody else in the audience that would like to speak on this? Please come up to the podium, state your name and address for the record.
Hey, Glenn, thank you.
Good evening. My name is Rick Mahoney, 8 Dornock Circle. I'm the president of the Board of Trustees at the Windermere at Chelmsford Condominium. Just a couple of points. One, those are not arborvitae trees. Those are fir trees. You can't trim fir trees. They won't grow at all, period. But they were watered. There is a watering system out there. We haven't used it in years because the trees are growing and they're fairly healthy, to be honest with you. Mrs. Jervis is correct. She did request of the board to cut and trim some of the branches on her side of it. The board discussed it at some length. We felt that by cutting those branches out, we would be mitigating or taking away some of the buffer that was there. The branches are thin and they're dead, but they are somewhat of a buffer. I mean, if you didn't have those there at all, the people in Windermere could see straight out to Princeton Street, right down her driveway out to Princeton Street. So we looked at it. We did, and we can do that. We're happy to do that if that helps, but it's not gonna solve this problem. It's gonna in fact take away somewhat of the buffer situation that's going on there right now, quite honestly. The genesis of this was the survey that we ran. And it's interesting because we ran the survey specifically because we are concerned about the trees at Windermere. We have trees, as you know, down Windermere and up, we call it Dornock, up towards the front of Mrs. Jervis's property, but we've got a whole bunch of trees between us and the village of Meadowwood. All right, and these are actually bigger trees. These are about 60, 70-foot trees. And we just replaced the roofs on our condominium 3 years ago at a cost of about $1.5 million. So we don't want trees landing on our roofs. Yeah. So we did the survey to see which trees are ours, which trees are Meadowwoods, so we can make that adjustment, make that assessment, see which trees make the most, we got to take a look at. because we don't want them falling on our stuff either, you know? In terms of maintenance, we do. We do the maintenance on all our trees. We, you know, is it a daily thing? Is it a weekly thing? No, it's when we have an issue, we handle it.
What kind of maintenance, if you're afraid to cut and trim, what kind of maintenance do you do on the trees?
We assess them. I mean, if trees are leaning and going towards the home, we'll cut them. We'll make, you know, we've actually notified the person living at 286 Princeton that their trees were overhanging our property. And to his credit, he cut some of the trees down. We also trim the trees because we're allowed, if the trees are overhanging onto our property, we can cut them, trim them back so they're not hanging onto our property.
So you've cut the trees back when they're touching her house?
Yes. Yes. Now, you know, it gets kind of dodgy because the survey shows some of our property is on her property, and that's a different discussion at some point later on. But we went and did that survey specifically to see which trees are ours, which trees we have to maintain, because we don't want to be in a situation. We know we got trees that are 20, 30 years old right now and that are at risk. And we decided that was the genesis of this situation.
Any questions?
Yeah, so
Sure.
for the situation that's being discussed, do you have any opinions or proposals for what your board or condominium association is thinking would improve the situation, or is your position that the trees are what they are and that's the end of the story?
Based on talking with the arborist, we believe the trees are what they are and there's not much we can do about it, and to try to plant other smaller trees in there be a waste of time and money. They're not going to grow. They're not getting the sunlight.
So based on your assessment after your survey in regards to those trees and your property, do they pose a hazard?
No. No more than any other tree does. I mean, there are trees blow down in winds all the time. We can't, that's act of God kind of level stuff.
Right, but are you taking any measures against any other trees on your property to protect your property?
At this point, no. We're bringing an arborist in. Our plan is to bring an arborist in later in this year. Now that we've got the lot lines established, to take a look at the trees.
So you haven't had anyone actually evaluate which trees or who or how to address anything that might cause any damage to any of your condominiums?
Outside of the two arborists checking this row of trees behind Mrs. Jervis's home, no, not yet. That's part of our plan. It's in our budget, quite honestly, for this year.
Okay.
Before we continue, we've gotten word that the AC will not be repaired this evening. So I just mentioned that collectively, if you guys want to power through, we can. If we want to collectively, you know, continue everything and come back in August.
Okay. Well, I'm retired Army, so I've been through a lot worse. I say we could finish this and take a 5-minute water break if everyone's okay with that, and we can move forward.
Yeah.
Okay. Anyone else have a question for?
Yeah, I just have a comment. You know, just a comment. Let's face it, when you planted the trees, the intent is a word that has many definitions. It worked. The intent to screen worked. Everything worked fine. Everything was fabulous. And I guess the only thing someone did wrong is they put in the wrong kind of tree. And how are you gonna know that, like 30 years down the road? So,
I think you can, because we have arborvitaes all over our property, in between our homes.
okay.
And they have grown to about 20 feet as well, but they're not going to grow a whole lot more. And they didn't, you know, but the other thing is they didn't space these trees out.
Okay. Anybody else want to speak?
Well, before you leave, I got one more question.
Sure.
So, from your point of view, do the trees as they exist meet the intent of what was written into the conditions of the approval back in whatever that was, 2003?
So the condition itself reads that the applicant would, we'll just read the condition. 2 staggered rows of 12 to 14 foot trees on top as shown on the site plan comparable to the berm shown in photographs to be submitted to the board of a project in Lexington. I've not seen those. They're not, I don't know if they're in the file that the folks have. Again, it's 23 years old now. So those trees are there. If you look at what, I'm sorry, Ms. Gervais? Gervais?
I do, she, yes.
So what she submitted, the second to last page, March 24, 2026. You know, the picture that's sort of sideways at the bottom of that page, I mean, that's really, you can see it right there, right? You can see these 2 rows of trees along the berm that are close and now crowded, but they're there.
Okay.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Joe Gervais, 217 Princeton Street, back again. On these trees, when the conditions was 12 to 14 feet, trees were gonna go on a 4-foot berm. Now, that was fine for a 4-foot berm, there's no safety issues. Now, these trees are 40 feet high, half of them are dead or pretty close to dead, and now they're teetering on a 4-foot berm. On your last page that I showed you, those are the trees that are at their property, on their property line. Another thing is there's no irrigation at all going to those trees at all. That's why they're dying. Another thing, if they kept them at 12 to 14 feet, there'd be no problem here. There'd be no safety issues. There'd be no sap falling all over the place. They're 40 feet high now. There's a safety issue. On the last page, you got a tree that's leaning on my property at a 45-degree angle. We called Rhonda up in March. It says it in March of this year. And she referred us to Scott Erickson. And Scott Erickson called us and says that that tree, that we supposed to cut it down and get rid of it ourselves. That tree is still there hanging over our property. As far as I'm concerned, that's a safety issue, and you ain't good neighbors when you do stuff like this. I have no use for this 40B project at all. Everything that they want to do, they want to get out of. They got a bunch of trees
you're
here.
speaking about? That's
The one on
The last page.
Last page.
The last page.
One more,
Yeah, this one.
second to last.
It's this one up here. The fallen tree one on the top left.
There's also a page
Third
where
page. Third
there's
to the last.
a tree that fell on our fence. And that's how this all started.
There's nothing left of these trees. You can see in these pictures everybody's house. You can see what they're watching or eating on TV or eating at the dinner table or what. This is a joke.
We hear
There's
you.
a picture in there that, this is how this all started. I think, I forget the date, but it fell on our fence in the backyard. And so I called up Wanda, and she didn't talk to me, but anyway, I said, another tree fell. Now, these are all the dead trees. There's absolutely no green on them at all. And we've been asking, there's one right next to our garage, too, that I've been asking, please take it down before it falls on our garage. So anyway, on the one on the fence, they came and they took it down. Then, right next to the picture with the one that's still hanging there was another tree that fell in the winter. And I called, and it's not our problem. We don't have to do that. And I said, no, wait a minute. As far as I know, when you tell somebody about their trees, then they are responsible. And I told them. Came home from work, it was gone. Now, the one that we see there, that fell, it's still there because that's when they said, we're all done with. That's why this is all come to this. We've tried to work with them, but they don't want to work with us. And as far as trimming these trees, when we didn't just go out to any place and pick these trees out, we went to Jay's arborist and told them what they were for, and that's what they said. These 2 types of trees would be perfect for that. We didn't just go out and say we like that. They told us that these would be perfect for this spot, so they can be trimmed. And when they were trimmed on the top, I wish I had a picture of that. Well, you can see how bushy they are on the top. They're so, if we could cut them down now, they'd make a fortune selling Christmas trees. This was a while ago, they're twice as big as that now, and they're so thick on the top. And as far as a safety thing, a lot of these trees are now leaning towards their houses, not just mine. And they're leaning towards Princeton too.
It's a 7 there.
Okay.
Another thing, while these aphrodite are doing so good, the grass is irrigated over there, and those aphrodite are right in the grass area. While they're white pines and they're Scotch pines in there. They're Christmas trees. And when you say you can't trim them, they'll die. There was 10 feet of them taken off. They brought a crane in there and set it up in our driveway, of course, and took 10 feet off the top of these trees. So there you go. They ain't gonna die if you trim them. They're supposed to be 12 to 14 feet tall, and this wouldn't be happening today. They didn't do their job, and here we are again. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Stephen Brewer, 219 Princeton Street. Some neighbors with.
I'm sorry.
Yep.
Deaf in one ear and can't hear out the other.
No worries. So Stephen Brewer, I'm at 219 Princeton Street, so I'm neighbors with Linda and Joe, and sort of adjacent to Windmere. But so I think there's a couple things that weren't necessarily correct. We're saying that the assessment is what prompted this whole discussion, but I think the trees falling on their property is what prompted the assessment, which prompted them coming in saying, we don't want to maintain our property according to that agreement. I believe, what if there's a total count number there? I mean, if a tree falls, whether it's written into an agreement legally, it's your responsibility in the law to maintain your property and take care of that, especially if there's a safety concern. But especially if there's a number agreement to it, that tree falls, now shouldn't they be obligated to replant that to maintain the number and the honor of the agreement? But I mean, I guess, and they can say whether they made the wrong decision 30 years ago about which trees to plant, and now they have to deal with that bad decision. But I'm a homeowner, and I'm dealing with the bad decisions 30 years later from previous owners. That's what happens. That's when you manage a property, and you own it, you're supposed to maintain it. Whether or not there's an agreement that says specifically maintain your property. That was the agreement. They set that up to be that buffer zone. You're now responsible for your own property, and it's their property. They paid the survey to prove that they're responsible for their property. I don't see how it's any simpler than that, but but it doesn't seem like they maintain the property at all. The fences along Princeton Street have damage to them. They're caving in, they're falling. They're nice looking fences. It doesn't seem like they do anything to the property. So I'd be kind of curious when it comes to the whole point of these HOA associations, which is to actually maintain and beautify the property on behalf of the town. Are they actually doing what they're intended to do? But that's I guess, a side problem. But yeah, just a couple, and especially the point of them saying that they assessed the dead trees in the back and said, well, we don't want to cut these because that would ruin or make the view worse. That's just code for I don't want to pay to do this. So I don't know. It seems pretty straightforward. I had a situation last year where we had a couple trees between our two properties that we were both concerned about the safety of both of our houses and the people that live in them. And we split the cost for 2 trees to trim them down when they're on my property, and they were more than willing to pay the whole thing. And I said, no, these are mine. So these are good people, and I just don't. The reason I came down here today is because I really don't like to see big corporations that have plenty of money that tax that from their HOA association to maintain their property. And I believe this gentleman was saying that he lives in one of these associations, and he's responsible for taking care of a tree issue that's on his association, or his property in the association. Isn't that what the association is paid or is supposed to do? Isn't that why they collect those dues? So I really, honestly, what am I supposed to do? Pay for the HOA's entire property tax now at this point? Am I responsible to maintain their property? They're saying that they're supposed to go and cut down the tree that's not on their property. That's trespassing. It's ridiculous. So I don't know. That's all I have to say on it. I really don't see that this is their responsibility whatsoever.
Thank you.
Aside from the fact that the affordable housing project next door is not a big corporation, of course, I don't have anything further at it at this point.
Board, any questions? Any other comments from the audience? I just want to point out two questions for you. So the decision that was passed in was this 2003, right? Specifically says that the applicant has proposed, the Board of Appeal requires the following aspects of the development shall be and remain forever private. Any legal responsibility for operation or maintenance of same and includes landscaping. So, do you maintain the landscaping of all the other space in?
Of course, and
the-
that condition is baked into the condominium
Pretty-
documents, yes.
Okay. So would you consider these trees on this berm part of your landscaping?
Yes, and again,
Okay.
they are maintained. They exist. We can see
Okay.
the photos that were provided by the neighbor.
Okay, just wanted
They
to.
exist the way they grew.
Okay, so, and then the other point, what is your definition of a buffer? What would you, so the other stipulation of the approval was applicant shall provide a buffer between the abutter's property and project site of the berm with staggered rows, 12, 14 feet, et cetera. So really, it would come down to maintaining that buffer, which is.
Yeah, I guess, Madam Chair, one, I was in law school when this decision was issued.
Right.
Two, the buffer, I think, was intended to be a vegetated natural buffer of staggered rows of trees, and it is.
But
And
to visually, would you say to visually block between the two properties?
was to have something that was going to be uprooted, so you're gonna take out, 100 or more healthy, mature trees and replace them every 20 years. I would not interpret the decision to say that.
I don't say I wouldn't say that would be the case, but I'm just asking, would you say though that this stipulation would be to create a visual buffer between the two properties?
Yes, but I think that
of
this
vegetation.
Sorry, I didn't mean to
Yeah.
jump in front of you there. Yes, but I think that this was probably a lack of planning, again, and it sounds like, we could have used different species that would have accomplished a more permanent buffer, hopefully, right? But the trees that were used, and it sounds like, according to Mr. Vey, that these were the trees that were intended. They chose these trees. But these trees have now grown to a maturity where they no longer function the way they did in 2003, which these pictures that she provided are kind of nice, right? They show the 12 to 14 inch Christmas tree look that now these trees are not.
Okay. Have you engaged do you have an opinion drafted from an arborist that says these trees could not have been trimmed to maintain that 12 to 14 foot height?
Not an opinion that these trees could not have been trimmed to maintain that 12 to 14 foot height. No, I don't, that's something we could certainly ask the arborist. I'm not sure that.
What type of trees are they? Does anybody know?
They're pines.
Yeah, white pines and,
I don't think you could have permanently kept these trees at that height.
Okay.
Are they balsam firs or anything like that? No. All pines.
They're just pines.
I mean,
You have to come up. So, okay. Have you, I guess the other question would be, are you,
white pine and spruce.
you'd have to come up to the podium if you have anything you wanted to add, sir.
Well, white pine and spruce. There was two different types.
Okay,
okay,
Okay.
thank you.
thank you. So they can be maintained.
I guess my only other question would be, would you be open to having a discussion with the abutter about establishing or engaging with an arborist about if there are vegetation plant options that could be added to what is there, so we're not uprooting mature trees, but we could add some additional vegetation that would increase the buffer or the screening back to its original intent.
Yes, they would be willing to do that. I do think, again, in terms of a buffer, right? I just was thinking about your question. I mean, a chain link fence is a buffer, but we can see through it, right? There are barriers that are visible. I understand that the intention here was screening, but from a cost standpoint, you are dealing with, an affordable housing community, right? A 40B community. So it would have to be something that doesn't overburden the neighbors. When the letter of the law is complied with. There are 2 rows of staggered trees. Now, if some of them are missing, we can look at that too, right? But that's different than, you know, sort of uprooting everything and starting again.
Any other questions? Glenn, you have any questions? Is that enough?
You're on mute.
Now, can you hear me all right?
Yep.
I think that it was very telling that the homeowner identified that they picked out the trees. Not that they were experts by any means in the types of trees or anything like that, but I would think that the fact that they actually picked them out and not the association picked them out is a negative on their part.
I thought what I heard was that they went to a place with the association said, these are the trees that'll do the job, and then they picked one
No,
of the
the
others.
nursery did.
Wait a minute.
The
Okay.
nursery did.
Yeah,
And just to be clear, at that point in time, it wasn't the association, it would have been the developer, but yeah,
Okay.
yeah,
right.
the developer,
yes.
they
And
went to a
those
nursery.
trees, you know, they are maintainable at a 14-foot height. They have to be trimmed, they have to be watered, everything has to go on. So there is a maintenance issue here that was not followed. I worked at a nursery for a long time, so I know a lot about trees, and they can be maintained.
Okay. Are there any other comments from the audience?
I just remembered that I did forget what somebody was saying about a fence.
Say your name again. please,
Oh,
for the record.
Linda Gervais, Princeton Street. I'm really nervous about a fence too, and that's why I brought up the Meadowwood thing when that entrance went in, and the fence, because they extended that fence, and if they put a fence now, I will be blocked in my backyard. And the fire hydrant is on Augusta. It was moved from Princeton Street down to Augusta, and I will now be blocked in, and the fire department won't be able to get to my house, because I'm sure the fence on the entrance, they extended it, and now if they go on their boundary to put if they ever put a fence, I'll be blocked in.
You don't exit off of Princeton?
I do.
So how, if they have a fence,
Is that your house there in the corner?
Yeah, it's the one with the L-shaped
Yeah,
driveway.
how are you blocked? I'm confused how you're blocked in.
So this is the entrance of Augusta, and this fence, there's a fence that comes down here. and this
Okay.
is my backyard.
Okay,
And if they put a fence,
uh-huh,
I'm
Uh-huh.
looking at this fence here and this fence here.
okay.
I'll be blocked in. And the fire
Block-
hydrant is
But
about,
there's a street there, right?
Blocked in,
Blocked in how?
There's only 3 sides to the fence you're talking about.
You have a driveway.
you're exiting off Princeton.
so the fire hydrant is down here. If the fire truck comes down here to the fire hydrant, how are they gonna get through here?
The truck would probably be filled.
You have to run the hose over your fence, I
No
imagine.
plan to put up a fence anywhere along that side of the property.
Okay.
Okay,
I'm just making sure because I've been promised other stuff. and I haven't done it.
okay. All right, there's no other comments
Because I
from,
did talk to the fire chief, and he said, the first time when they extended the fence, he said, well, we'll just throw the hose over and cross through the trees.
okay.
So now, I'm like, yeah, so now you can't throw the hose over because it's in the fences. You know, he said that you have to run the hose down here. I'll run that hose.
Okay. If there's no other comments from the public, make a motion to.
Well, do we want to first consider if we want them to meet and see if they can come to some sort of agreement before we do that?
You wanna have that discussion?
If you're gonna do that, then you would keep the hearing open to report back
That's-
to you.
That's, yeah.
Is that what you guys wanna do?
Don't know that it looks very promising.
It might get promising though.
Do you guys wanna do you guys wanna go look? Do you guys wanna go out and do a site survey as well? Take a look at the site, or?
I always like doing that.
I know you do.
The pictures
Anybody
are pretty
else?
telling.
Yeah, I
Pretty
thought the
telling?
pictures are pretty telling.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think it's pretty obvious.
Okay.
Would the parties be open to having a meeting and we leave this hearing open and continue till August and give you guys an opportunity to have a sit-down meeting and discuss viable options to have a resolution on this matter before the board makes a decision?
Certainly happy to have a conversation. Our view is that this is a shared problem now that no one could have anticipated. So hopefully the neighbor would approach it from that same vein, and if that's the case and they're willing to compromise, then we would be happy to have that discussion.
I'll make a motion to continue the public hearing till August 6th, if that's amenable.
Would you like to, are you open to having a conversation with the representatives of the condo association
The development, the owners,
as far as updating, fixing,
the
doing
buffer,
something to-
vegetation?
I don't understand why we'd have to do this.
You don't
In
have
the
to.
conditions,
You
it's
don't
12 to
have to.
14-foot trees. There ain't 12 to 14-foot trees out
You
there.
don't have to have the conversation. We were just asking if you'd be
We
open
come
to
in
it.
here, I thought maybe you would
Okay.
be able to settle this. but
So you'd rather not go another round with the association is what I'm hearing.
We ain't friendly if
Okay.
that's what-
Okay.
how you
Okay.
want to put it.
Okay,
Okay.
that's fine.
That seals it.
That seals it. Let's make a motion.
We'll make a motion to close the public hearing.
Motion to close.
Second.
Second.
Yes.
How do you vote?
Yes.
How do you vote? To close the hearing?
Oh,
You have to
yes.
do roll call.
Yeah, okay, yes.
Charlie,
No, I don't want to close it.
you don't want to close public hearing? That's one. Opposed to close the public hearing?
Yes.
Glenn, how do you vote?
To close the hearing.
Well, yeah.
He's muted.
You're muted, Glenn.
May I ask a clarifying question? It sounds like they're not willing to meet, so I guess I want to understand if there's no discussion on compromise.
We'll make a decision.
What-
The board will discuss.
Right, but what would be the purpose of continuing the public hearing?
We're not.
We're not, we're
Okay.
closing
Okay,
the public hearing.
We just have to
We have to
on it.
vote.
It
Sure,
has to
okay.
go through.
Yes.
okay, yeah.
Glenn, how do you vote about the motion to close the public hearing?
I vote to close the public hearing.
Okay.
So it's 4-1?
4-1.
Okay.
So it's closed.
Public hearing is closed.
Guess I'll,
So
we uphold. Yeah, well,
the letter is,
What is,
you've seen the letter, right? So,
We only have two options.
Yeah.
Because the third one's out. So it's either uphold it or
so if we uphold it, could we put stipulations on the uphold?
no, I don't think, I think it's uphold or
we
not.
uphold it as it is.
Okay.
I don't know what you did there, Bob.
It's pretty sad.
Yeah.
Is it possible to continue it and with looking for a arborist that's satisfactory to the landowner and to the association to talk about if these trees could have been properly maintained?
No.
They have already, they have already determined that they are not open to conversations.
They're looking for us to make a decision.
Yes.
Yeah, and we closed,
they're-
so we
Push
can't
it
Yep.
one way or the other.
we can't continue it anyways.
Right.
Okay, I mean, unless we reopened, we could reopen. So, from what I'm reading from the decision from 2003, the developer had to provide a buffer, and landscaping maintenance was private in their responsibility, and that buffer, in my opinion, is part of the landscape requirement. So, I don't see.
The only problem I see is we have to uphold it as what the condition says, and if we do the same thing in the same condition, this is gonna happen again.
Yeah,
I
we'll have
think
to
we-
So
revisit
it's-
it again in 23 years.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
Won't
it's
be.
a definition of insanity.
Well, and Evan can speak to that.
Yeah, it's
How
up-
do
it's-
we
If it's incumbent upon the property owner to make that
better
determination.
decisions?
Okay.
If they don't want to continue doing the same thing over and over again, they can come back to the board with a modification.
I mean, the decision doesn't say plant trees X, Y, or Z, right? So they could plant something different.
Yeah, whatever they.
true.
There's also,
whatever they
there's a
agree
landscape
upon.
plan that I think specifies.
Oh, it
the-
does?
Well, the plan that they pictures of, it just says. And
Conifer.
Conifers, seed-based type.
Yep, okay.
Yeah, I mean, I think there are many options. You could even plant the same thing, but then maintain it differently, or so. I don't think we're damned to get back to exactly the same position.
I mean, I think there might be an alternate vegetation option that could be done to keep the current trees and still provide a screen without having to dig up.
But I think at the end of the day, that doesn't. At the end of the day, I don't think any of that matters here now, because we can't say this, but X, Y, and Z. It's either uphold or not.
Yeah.
So we can't tell them what to plant or not plant. It's just
To uphold the decision.
yes.
Yeah.
Right.
So, I mean, if they maintain the buffer, right? What's it say? You could change. Maintaining the buffer would be, you planted those trees, they're still there, the buffer is no longer there, which is what you have to maintain, so
Well, I guess.
what you choose to plant to maintain the buffer would be your decision.
I'm not sure that it is.
Ultimately, I mean, I guess that would be, I guess that would be up to them, I suppose, or their lawyer, how to interpret.
I think
per
that would be a
se.
modification.
We can't,
Right.
the
I
meeting's
understand.
closed unfortunately, so.
Going to be in kind. What was shown on the original plan, number and
Spacing.
quantity and the specifications is what, if it's upheld, is what Jose will hold them to. That's enforcement.
2 rows of fir trees 10 feet apart on a. Well, I don't think it said. Did it say the 4-foot berm, or did it just say the 2
Yeah,
rows?
the 4-foot berm is
Okay.
was part of it.
Not saying it needs to be what it was originally planted in 2003. They could literally go in, and where there are trees missing within those 2 rows, they could replant. Doesn't have to be 12 to 14 feet. So they could be filling gaps.
But then there'd be more than,
Does it have to be
there'd be
12 to
more
14
than,
feet?
Yeah.
there'd be more trees this time.
Well, if there's gaps that are over 12 to 14 feet, yeah, then the gaps
The
need to be
tree height
filled.
had to be 12 to 14.
Yeah, because it calls it out as 12 to 14.
Yeah, I think that planting
Yeah,
is
that's
my,
right. Yeah.
is my interpretation of that, not mature height.
Correct. That was
Yeah.
my
Yeah, but
understanding
if they go
too.
and plant something on Tuesday, it should be between 12 and 14 feet.
Yes.
It just needs to fill the gap, quantity and fill in the gap to serve as a buffer.
I thought we were doing literal enforcement, so that's where I was saying.
Yeah, yeah.
To
So I
meet
mean,
the definition of what's there.
if there's 2 mature trees that are fine and 12 to 14 feet above the ground, they're green, then they're just planting something to fill the gap.
guess
I don't know the status of it. But Jose and I would have to work with them to achieve compliance.
So if we uphold it, it then at this point goes into them and they can work with them to determine compliance. Doesn't necessarily mean the plan, just it's what they deem in compliance with the plan.
Yeah, it doesn't give distance.
This thing here,
That's all it says.
12 to 14 foot conifers planted,
Right, planted, oh, was it?
10 foot on center for separate, but they say the
Yes,
plant
it's-
is 12 to 14 feet tall, yeah, so that, I mean, yeah.
Do an assessment of existing conditions
Yeah.
and see to what extent, if any, it's not serving the original intent to create that buffer.
Yeah, there's no quantity of, there's no exact number.
But out of the gate, I would review this as repair and replace.
Okay.
We up for a motion?
What do we, any questions?
I'm good.
Motion?
So, voting in the affirmative,
Yes.
I will make a motion to,
Oh, I'm sorry, before we do that, do I have to read these letters?
No,
Okay.
you can waive the reading if you want.
I'll waive the reading of the letters, as they're not relevant, there's no bill.
a motion for the Windermere,
To
uphold
uphold.
the request from Windermere Lane.
Nope. To uphold the building commissioners. determination.
Positive? I thought the
Yeah.
positive was going with them.
No,
No, no, no.
Okay.
you're gonna, no. He's gonna make a motion.
Go for it. Make the motion. You
I
know
make a
what to
motion to uphold the building commissioner's determination, dated,
Always make an affirmative to the applicant.
do. That's what I thought. That's what I was trying to do.
You make an affirmative to
No,
the
the
applicant.
affirmative is his.
Make an
The
affirmative
appeals
to
are a
the
little
applicant.
different, so I mean, the cleanest way is to do the motion as,
Make an affirmative to the applicant, and if we are supporting the building commissioner, then we vote against.
Okay.
That's what I thought, but I could be, I don't know. Whatever.
Never heard of that.
Wing it, Danny, you go for it.
All right, so
It's hot.
I make a motion to approve the Windermere Lane appeal of the building commissioner's decision requiring their continued maintenance of the trees located on the berm area of the property abutting 217 Princeton Street in accordance with the previously approved 40B comprehensive permit.
Second the motion? Anybody? Stephen second. Roll call vote. Danny?
No.
No.
Charles?
No.
Stephen? Glenn? How do you vote?
No.
That'd be unanimous. The building commissioner's letter is, stays upheld.
Thank you. May we coordinate with the building inspector to get more clarity in terms of the expectations?
yeah, you'll have to meet with them.
Yeah, we could do that.
From the meeting tonight, I got to be honest, that conclusion was a bit chaotic. I don't think we have a clear sense of the direction.
We just upheld
We
his
just
letter.
upheld his letter. so
Right,
the
but his
interpretation
letter
of his
says
letter-
if such barrier no longer exists, which is a conditional, there's no determination that the barrier does not exist.
Yeah, so I think you have to follow that up with
Right.
his assessment. We just said we upheld his
His
letter.
letter.
It's your responsibility to maintain the barrier. So if you go out there and make an assessment, if you need him to assist you in making that assessment, that the barrier no longer exists per the conditions of the original bill, then you have to do what is necessary to bring that barrier back.
But
or
the
that
board
buffer.
upheld a conditional, so it says if it doesn't exist, then you have to maintain it.
Right.
But we believe it exists.
Well, then that's why we have a
And
building
so I guess we'll
commissioner.
need clarity, greater clarity from.
Yes.
Building commissioner.
So, Mr. Negron, I'm happy to set up a time to speak.
Yes, sir. If you call me tomorrow, maybe we can schedule something for next week.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you, have a good evening.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we will take a 5-minute break, get some water, and then we will move on to the next application. 1 minute. I'm sorry, 8:35, we'll resume tonight's meeting. Our next application is 5 Frank Street and 2 Bison Street. Owners Greg Stein requesting a variance for reduced lot area to create a buildable lot on 2 Bison, which is lot 22, and variances for dimensional relief to locate a proposed dwelling and any relief deemed necessary. Please state your name and address for the record, please.
Good evening. Bruce Ringwall from Goldsmith Preston Ringwall, 39 Main Street, Air, Mass.
Okay.
You ready for me to proceed?
Oh, absolutely.
Certainly. Good evening. Good evening, Board. This site is, and this application is 3 different parts. If it pleases the Board, I'd like to go through the first part and discuss that, and if we can proceed, then we'll go to the second and go from there, if that makes sense. This property, and I'm looking at 2 different pieces. Oops, it's not up there. All right, this.
For the image?
Yeah, the image is good. There you go, that's great. And if you could click on, there you go. So 2 Bison is that lot right on the very end of Frank Street, Bison, and the other street across the end. I can't remember the name of it. I can't read it from here. This,
Ave?
yes,
Yeah,
this is a development that was done in 1949. Prior to your current zoning, this lot is zoned RB with a 40,000 square foot zoning requirement. I've asked for a variance on this lot from not necessarily your zoning, but section 6 of chapter 40A, section 6 of the Mass General Law, which in 2024, August of 2024, the state modified that law. Previously, non-conforming lots that were in same ownership had to be felt and dealt with as though they were one lot from a zoning standpoint. And the law from 2024 allowed for those lots to be separated. They had stipulations in that. One stipulation is they had to have 75 feet of frontage. Another stipulation is they had to have 10,000 square feet of land area. They had to create a 3-bedroom home, and they couldn't have more than 1,850 square feet of living area. They also cannot be used as a temporary rental. But the idea is to create additional housing to help with the Massachusetts need for housing and to allow for those things to occur. So the board may decide that we're asking for relief from the 40,000 square feet, which is fine. This particular lot, and if I could ask Evan if you could maybe zoom out just a little bit on that image for a moment. Perfect. You can see here on that image that there are roughly 32 homes that have lot sizes that vary from around 7,200 to about 10,500. The development that we're talking about was the one that's on the south portion of that cluster, and the northern portion was a different development. Apparently, at some point in time, the owner of the adjacent lot, which is 5 Frank Street, and this lot had the same 2 lots in ownership. And for many years, they couldn't be separated. We believe that there's an avenue now to allow for them to be separated, to allow to have a smaller home like those in the neighborhood, a 3-bedroom as is required under the zoning, and not to be rented out on a short-term rental, but could be rented on a long-term rental, or it could be even sold. And so that is our proposal. And if you go to the next exhibit, I think it is, Evan? Yes, perfect. So this shows the lot as a separate lot. The property has been established with two tax records as long as we know of. The prior owner and the current owner, Mr. Stein, has had that situation. And if you could go to exhibit, it's in the other package, exhibit number 4, I believe it is, in the 8.5 by 11 package. Yes, the one right above there. Oops, oh, the package above that, I'm sorry. The one to, right there, yep. And jump down to, no, you still got the same one for some reason. Second item down.
Yeah, it keeps going to that same one.
It looks like there is a duplicate.
Oh, okay. Well, the image that I was going to bring up is the 1949 subdivision, and it shows all these small lots.
You want exhibit 4, you said?
What's that?
What exhibit number was that?
It's in your packets there. I believe it's exhibit number 4. That is correct.
I think I have it here.
Yeah. And, so on this particular site, when we go for a variance, we know we have a hard rule to deal with. We have to deal with a literal enforcement of the bylaw that involves a substantial hardship, financial or otherwise, to the petitioner. At this point in time, there's the issue where there is a regulation that this lot is just under 1,400 feet under what the level is that the state is looking for currently to allow for lots to be separated from their other lot when they're owned in common ownership. This lot in here has circumstances relative to the shape of the lot and the size of the lot. This was created in '49, back when zoning allowed for this shape to occur. And it is not the conditions of the whole RB zoning district. Much of the RB zoning district is of 40,000 square foot lots, or of some apartment housing or condominium housing that is also allowed within the district and has been over the years. We believe that desirable relief can be granted on this without substantial detriment to public good, and that, as I mentioned, there are 32 lots in this little cluster that are of very similar size, right around the 8,000 square foot lot size. And we're also not nullifying or substantially degrading from the intent or purpose of the law, of the bylaw, which, and your intent and purpose are for good land use, for housing and protection of the area. So here's a lot that is of the similar size of the abutting lots. The state law is looking to create more housing, and this is an option that can occur. And in my application, we wrote that we highly recommend, should the board agree with us, that there be a condition imposed that it be a 3-bedroom, that there not be any short-term rental, and that it obviously has to be under the 1,850 square feet of living area. That's my argument for this portion of the application.
So you're asking for a variance so that you
Can separate.
So that you can separate and apply under the 48(6), right?
That is correct.
Can we even do that?
If I can clarify, Madam Chair, so the applicant is coming under the 2024 Housing Act, the Amended Housing Act, Section 10. 48, Section 10, which even if this parcel at the time of endorsement was endorsed in common ownership, to meet the standards that the state set forth, which is 10,000 square feet, a minimum of 10,000 square feet, 75 feet frontage, and a house no less than 3 bedrooms, just for the part of the size of the lot. Unfortunately, under that provision, under that amended the Housing Act, this parcel is not protected.
Yeah, because aren't we getting it would be requesting a variance from the state law, not from our zoning.
So the state, so what the state is saying, that in order for you to be protected or qualify for a buildable lot, you need to have as a minimum 10,000 square feet, 75 feet frontage. This lot, unfortunately, let's say the board will, I don't know if that's feasible, grant a variance for the lot, but there are other conditions such as building coverage and FAR.
Yeah, it says right here, so if adjacent lots under common ownership shall not be treated as a single lot if at time of recording, 1, conform to the existing requirements of frontage, yard, and depth, which each such lot has no less than 10,000 square feet.
Yeah, I don't see how we can give a variance from a state law.
I don't see where this is at.
Oh, in the paragraph before that, in section 6, it has the regulation of allowing for construction on a lot with 75 feet of frontage and 7,500 square feet, which this lot has and meets. So alternatively to the guideline that we were just speaking of, it would be a variance from your 40,000 square foot to allow for a lot in excess of 7,500 square feet that this lot has, and then to allow for that, then to, grant a variance from that, from the 40,000 to the 7,500, given that in this neighborhood, this is the size of the lots.
Do we have that 7,500 reference anywhere?
It's in my application.
Yeah, because he's referencing
5,000, so it says,
Non-closed fit in the draw?
yeah, any increase, zoning laws may define, regulate non-conforming, an increase in area, frontage, yard width, depth requirements, zoning ordinance, or bylaw shall not apply to a lot for a single-family residential use, where at the time of recording, common ownership already exists. I get the sense that the house is already there.
I think the biggest thing is the 10,000. Once you hear that you has to meet the 10,000, it's over. We don't have the authority to give a variance to allow that under the state law. The ZBA doesn't have that authority.
Any increase in area, frontage, width, or requirements shall not apply for a period of 5 years since effective date of the was recorded or endorsed. Was held in common ownership of the joining.
Just to simplify and clarify, Jose did ask counsel informally. It doesn't meet the protection standards on the new law.
Yeah.
Yes.
Right, so that's settled.
Okay.
It does not meet the by right protections under the new law. We didn't ask council about whether the zoning board has authority to grant the variance to the state law. The state law doesn't make any mention of zoning relief. That's an interesting question. We could go back to council and ask council, or is the applicant saying you could treat it as a typical variance request for lot area?
Yeah. Which is fine. We couldn't-
I just have a little comment. Do you ever think about building an ADU there instead of a house?
Yeah, but the ADU, all these homes in the neighborhood are small in size, and it would be a fairly small ADU from that standpoint.
Okay, you don't want that.
I mean, so I guess if they don't meet the 10,000, you're saying now the argument is they're asking for just a general variance?
In lieu of us asking council the specific question as to whether a variance can be granted per the state law for the unmergering, if that's not allowed, then it would just be a regular variance from a lot area.
So they're asking for two variances. A variance to reduce lot area to create a buildable lot, and a variance for dimensional relief to locate a proposed building. Is it on the same lot?
If I may, Madam Chair, that would be a special permit. Under your bylaw, you allow for a special permit for reduction of setbacks, a 20% setback reduction. There is a variance, a second variance that we asked for later on in FAR, which is not necessary. We can downsize the building 129 square feet and meet the 20% FAR. And our coverage, we're like just barely 10% coverage under the 15% coverage. So those items are met, can be met. It's the issue of allowing for your 20% setback that you allow for existing lots, and to go from a 40,000 square foot lot to a 8,600 square foot lot, where all of the lots in this area are of that similar size.
Any other questions?
Yeah, so, okay, no, actually, not a question. It's for discussion later.
You want to read some letters?
Yeah, sure. I would love to read some letters. From the Department of Public Works, in reference to 5 Frank Street and 2 Bison Road. DPW confirmed the location of the sewer stub. Sewer privilege fee for the sewer stub at 2 Bison, Lot 22, was also recorded to have been paid in full. No increase to town of Chelmsford sewer infrastructure shall be more than 500 gallons per day per CRM 15, Title 5. Erosion control devices must retain the sediment on site. These must be installed prior to any work or demolition. Number 4, a driveway permit is required for the newly proposed driveway. Applicant must contact DPW Engineering Division to coordinate. Number 5, consideration should be made to install roof drain dry wells that are equivalent to infiltrate roof runoff. To manage on-site drainage, the property is located within Aquifer Protective Zone 2. This is not a requirement for approval. Any trees in town's right-of-way proposed to be removed will require a tree hearing and meeting with the tree warden prior to removal.
Would you like me to respond, or?
No.
Okay, thank you.
This is Board of Health. All right. The letter regarding the request for a variance for the reduced lot area to create a buildable lot at 2 Bison Street. Proposed project is located within the Tone Water Resources High Aquifer Protection Zone 2 and the State Water Resource Protection Zone 2 Wellhead Protection Area. Accordingly, pursuant to Town of Chelmsford General Provisions, Chapter 201, Board of Health Article 7, Groundwater Protection Zone, the applicant shall obtain approval from the Chelmsford Board of Health prior to the issuance of any permits or approvals necessary for development of the lot. The Board of Health's approval shall be required to demonstrate compliance with all applicable groundwater and wellhead protection requirements. Following the Board of Health approval under Chapter 201, any proposal for an on-site sewage disposal system shall be required separate review and approval under 310 CMR 15, Title 5, including submission of engineering plans, soil evaluations, pre-correlation testing, and the Health Department's disposal system construction permit application and inspection process. Due to the subject parcel containing only 8,609 square feet, substantially less than the town's current minimum residential lot size requirement of 40,000 square feet, it is unclear whether sufficient area exists to accommodate a Title V compliant septic system, reserve area, and all required setbacks from the property lines, structures, wells, and other protected uses. Therefore, approval of the requested variance should not be constructed as a determination that the lot is suitable for an on-site sewage disposal system. In the event that this project is approved for connection to the municipal sewer system, the applicant shall still obtain approval from the Chelmsford Board of Health pursuant to Chapter 201, Article 7, Groundwater Protection Zone, as the property is located within the protected wellhead and aquifer recharge area. Signed, Donna Greenwood, Public Health Director. Have you been to the Board of Health or?
Not, we would go if we needed, if we got to that point. We're not proposing a septic system, we're proposing tie into the sewer. Better, as you read, the betterments have already been paid. It'd be sewer and water.
Okay. Denial from Mr. Buzick, the Building Department.
The AC should be on.
Oh, lovely.
Jack it up.
Do you know how to change the snowflake?
Yep.
Turn it down to 60.
Thank you. Sorry.
Chelmsford Fire Department, request for variance. The applicant shall file an E911 application through the town's 911 committee for the proposed building lots. Any construction on the lot shall comply with all applicable codes, including but not limited to Massachusetts State Building Code, Massachusetts Fire Prevention Regulations, and the Town of Chelmsford bylaws. Plans will be subject to review by this office as part of the building permitting process. Based on these conditions, the office does not oppose the proposed plan. I respectfully request that this letter be incorporated into the board's approval process and entered into the public record. Signed, Josh Abbott, Captain, Fire Department.
On the abutter letters, you can reference their name and whether they're for or against.
Okay. This is zoning board of appeals.
There's 4 abutter letters attached to the agenda. And
There it is. Police have no comments. That's what it was. And North Chelmsford Water have no comments.
in addition to the 4 abutter letters attached to the agenda, this evening we received 2, one from Benjamin and Sarah McPherson, 6 Western Ave, and 6 Frank Street, Scarf. The first one was opposed, and the second one was also opposed. Fairly lengthy.
Yes.
And then there were 2 more that were in favor.
Those attached to the agenda? Did they come in before today?
They came, I think they came in today or yesterday. Can't remember. I emailed them to Becky and she responded to them.
Yep, to Silva.
Yep.
There were 2 attached that were approved, like, I mean,
You said,
in favor.
you said
I think the green
6A
ones.
Western Ave?
There's There's 4 here.
6 Western came this evening.
Okay. And then I have 5 Frank.
2 in green on the agenda are in support.
So 5 Frank is not in support.
There are 2 in support, 2 not in support, and then the 2 new ones that we received are not in support.
And I can't tell.
Want to go to the public?
Yeah. This one doesn't look like it's in support. So we have a letter from your abutter Jordan Brewer, 5 Frank Street, project. It says, I reside at 5 Frank Street, North Chelmsford, Massachusetts, and I'm writing to respectfully request that the board deny the requested variance for the reduced lot area, 5 Frank Street. Pretty lengthy letter, so. And then I have an email from Robert Wayne to Merlida Avenue. Writing, my wife and I are very much against allowing the developer to subdivide these lots. So against the application. And then I have a letter from, I think this is Greg De Silva.
De Silva.
That looks, okay. It says Greg, is it, okay, and I can't read his address. 10.
Same street as the
10
last
Mildred Avenue, oh, okay. Mildred Avenue. I, Greg, explained I support the division of the land and the construction a new house at AP 26 lot 107-1. And then a letter from Frank and Michelle Melvin at 5 Bison Street. We support our neighbor Greg towards obtaining a variance for the division of his land and construction of a new house. And we already discussed that one. Okay, I think that's all of them. Yep, already did that one. Okay, we'll open it up to the public. If anyone has any questions, comments, or concerns about this matter, please step forward and state your name and address for the record.
Matt Robbins. I live at 5 Maroba Ave. That's somewhere over that way. But we talk about how it's 10,000 square feet, and we talk about how they have to have joint ownership, right? Greg has already sold one of the lots for $700 grand. To me, that joint ownership of these 2 parcels, there is no joint ownership of 2 parcels. One lot's already been sold. If you want to do this for affordable housing, that lot itself sold for $700 grand. If you're going to put up a house that's bigger than that, it's certainly not going to help affordable housing. And I think too, on top of that, it's a dangerous precedent for this neighborhood. I think we like what we have currently, and we don't need any more traffic through that neighborhood. We have a lot of people who get lost on Drum Hill. I have an 18-month-old kid. Nothing would scare me more if there was more cars in there, not knowing what they're doing. I just feel like there's already been financial gain. There's no hardship here, and you're not going to help anybody out by selling a house for $800,000 or $900,000. So I don't see the point in even considering this, but that's just me.
Thank you. Hi.
So I don't forget anything. My name is David Scarfo, and I live at 6 Frank Street. I respectfully ask the board to deny the requested variances. I understand there are a variety of lot sizes in the neighborhood. However, I don't believe the existence of older or non-conforming lots by itself is a good enough reason to create another one. The applicant is asking the board to approve multiple variances to create a new buildable lot. In my view, the zoning bylaw exists to guide future development, and exceptions should be granted only when they are truly warranted. I'm concerned about approving this request. I am concerned that this request being approved would allow a level of development that current zoning does not otherwise permit. and could encourage similar requests to be in the future. I just respectfully appreciate the board's time and their due diligence, and ask the board to uphold the intent of the zoning bylaw and deny the requested variances. Thank you.
Good evening, Board. Joshua Kane, 4 Frank Street. I have another letter here from Jess Mutnatsky, 8 Western Ave. She did submit it, but it doesn't seem like you guys have it, so we'll make sure that you guys have it, so you have another. But she was also in opposition to it. And we've talked to some other neighbors who weren't able to make it here tonight who are also in opposition. You know, as we see it, it's a nice neighborhood. It's small, and it seems like the variance that would really need to be required would be go from 40,000 down to 8,000 some odd. That seems like a really significant variance. And would really be tough, I think, for the town to continue to do that and be able to stuff these small houses in there. And also, it's maybe hard to tell, but I mean, where the house at 5 Frank Street is currently, like this house will be maybe 20 feet, and they'll be looking directly at each other. So I really feel bad for that person that just bought that house to be staring directly into somebody else's house, not even maybe 20 feet in front of them. And I just don't think that we necessarily need that in our neighborhood, so thank you.
Day from 6 Marilda Avenue. I'm one of the oldest living relatives of this neighborhood and been there since 1980. In that 40-some years, every home, he's only talking about the little cluster of the existing ones that were all built in the 50s. All the rest of the homes, as you can see on them, all the other ones have abutting larger lots. Okay, so it's not like, well, because we got this little cluster that was built in the 50s right after World War II, that all of a sudden, you know, everything should just follow it. As was mentioned by the building inspector correctly, that, you know, the 10,000 thing, and again, whether the board follows that recommendation from the state about 10,000 feet, but considering something this small is a little ludicrous. And as I said, every other house that's been built since I moved in there on these abutting streets has met the 40,000 square feet. Whether it was Western Ave, whether it was Frank Street, whether it was around the curve and whatever, if you look at the outside fringes of the loops, you'll see large lots, large lots, large lots, lots. So this neighborhood isn't just, oh, a bunch of whole little small houses. It isn't. And also, too, as mentioned about for those that have the young children and whatever, since the 50s, when they, in 1963, I think, is when they changed the zoning to RB, so it's not like a short period of time that this 40,000 square feet has been in play, and that these lots that are lumped together are considered. I myself, okay, have a property at 6 Marilda. I have the real lot behind me, and I also bought the 2 other lots on both sides, okay, so that no one could literally build right on top of my yard, okay. The idea is that it is an aqua protection area and whatever, it has problems, water supply and all the other kinds of things. And further development on the idea of these substandard lots is, well, it wasn't the intent, and you look at the entire neighborhood, other than modifications or 40Bs or whatever else that have occurred in the area, we've been following since '63, okay, the 40,000 square foot lots. And I don't see any reason for one singular lot to be somehow the exception to the exception to the exception to the exception kind of thing that's being proposed. So yes, we're definitely against it. And when I bought the lot, it was non-conforming. When I bought the other lots that went with it for a buffer zone around it, I'm not looking to build future homes on those lots. I'm not going to be coming back and say, oh, well, if you're going to be building all these small lots, I guess I should get in the line, whatever. That wasn't the intent. The intent is a small neighborhood. It's a very, very close neighborhood. Everything that was built since 1980 till now, which was quite a few lots, at least a dozen plus, okay, are larger lots, okay, and complied with it And by the way, a lot of those properties, way back when, were a combination of multiple little lots, and they put a number of them together and came out with the appropriate amount of square footage. So, want to go on record to say that, no, I'm not in favor of it. And as also mentioned, yes, it's potentially opening up Pandora's box in regards to the small lots. And as I said, as mentioned by Mr. Ruiz, that, you know, the state says 10,000 is that minimum that you should consider the fact of making waivers, and we're not even at that point either. So I agree with the building inspector's interpretation, and I think he, as was mentioned, that there's sort of an informal thing from the attorney saying, I don't think it's something that you can just waive as a Board of Appeals. So I think we're on the right track if this gets turned down. So thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Anyone else? Okay. That's pretty easy. Any questions from the board? Do you have anything else to add?
At this point, I would think we'd like to withdraw without prejudice at this point.
Okay.
A motion to accept that, you'll follow that up with an email to Becky?
Okay. Who would like to make a motion?
I motion that the zoning board accept the withdrawal without prejudice for 5 Frank Street and 2 Bison Street.
Second. Second by Mr. Peter. Roll call vote. How do you vote, Danny? Charlie?
Yes.
Steve? Mr. Glenn, how do you vote?
Yes.
Unanimous. The petition has been withdrawn. Thank you for your time.
Thank you for your time.
Have a good night.
Thank you.
I did.
No way. If he was gonna try to ask me, just
Okay.
Good night.
Thank you. Have a good night. All right. Next on the agenda, 20 Mount Auburn Street, owner Stephen Owlett requesting an after-the-fact variance to keep and maintain an existing structure within the front yard setback and the reduction to the front yard setback requirement for an existing unpermitted retaining wall and any other relief deemed necessary. Please state your name and address for the record, please.
Good evening, Madam Chairman, members of the board. My name is John Gallant from Gallant and Urban in Chelmsford. I represent the applicant, Stephen Ouellette, who's also here this evening. I have some additional photographs to present to the board. We make enough copies, but I think somebody may have.
We can share.
Somebody may have.
Charlie and I, we always share.
I'm too blind to share.
A good share is out of
As stated in our application, we're looking for a variance from the frontage requirements of the bylaw for the retaining wall that was constructed by Mr. Ouellette. Mr. Ouellette purchased this property in 2017. Hear me? In 2017, and did substantial renovations to the street, to the roadway, to the property, including, but not limited to, taking utilities down and running them underground, running granite curbing along the area. And the town engineering department actually asked him to remove the circle that is set forth on the plan that abuts his lot. So the circle doesn't exist. The roadway as constructed is reflected on the plan. That's significant because it makes this lot unique for purposes of what we're requesting this relief for. This retaining wall that's constructed on his land replaced an existing one that was there when he purchased the property. I have photographs of that here. Some of the abutters have claimed that it wasn't there, but it clearly was. It was there beyond the berm, so you wouldn't see it from the roadway like you can't see this from the roadway. But the variance exists because the level of the wall is above 4 feet. You can construct a fence in that area without restriction or with a permit. Once you get a retaining wall, it's above 4 feet. It's considered a structure, a house, and then you need to comply with the setback requirements of the bylaw.
I'm sorry, you said you don't need a permit for a fence without restriction? Is that what you just said?
No, I said you can get a permit for a fence. You can
Okay.
put a fence there as opposed to a retaining wall. He replaced an existing retaining wall. A copy of that retaining wall, or a picture of the retaining wall that he replaced, is in the last two photographs, or the second to last photograph in the packet that I submitted. This particular wall that he constructed is not complete. I know that some of the abutters may have some concerns that that's what it's going to look like, but that's not what he intended to look like. The circle that's set forth on the plan, is the plan up? Yes. The circle that's on the plan shows the outer boundaries of his lot, but not the street. This actual retaining wall is somewhat, it's 40 to 50 feet from the roadway. Usually when you're looking for a variance from a frontage requirement, you're measuring from the edge of the lot, which is the edge of the roadway. In this particular case, the cul-de-sac or the circle it doesn't exist. It's not there. The engineering department of the town had my client apply for a permit to remove this circle. So now that doesn't exist, and the roadway and the driveway go all the way up, and Mount Auburn Street is as reflected on the plan. If you go from the roadway, this retaining wall complies in every respect with the bylaw if that was his lot line, but you don't. According to the literal interpretation of the bylaw, you measure from his lot line as opposed to the roadway. And his lot line, based upon the original plan, is closer because of the circle that was originally designed for this roadway. The problem is that by replacing that retaining wall and having it over 4 feet, and it's considered to be a structure because of the height of it in certain places, not all places, it needs a variance from the front requirement of the bylaw. The plan shows how close it is to the lot line, not the roadway. If you go from the roadway, at its closest, it's over 30 feet, which is at the beginning of Mount Auburn, but that can't be viewed from Mount Auburn. If you look at the photographs that I've submitted, they kind of tell you a lot about the improvements that my clients made to the property and how it looks. The photograph, the second page of the attachment, shows his lot from the street. You cannot see the retaining wall from that area, from that lot. You can see the substantial vegetation and trees that he's put all over the lot, as well as the granite curbing that he's installed throughout his property all the way up through the roadway. Second is on the right side of his driveway. Those are all of the trees and boxwoods and arborvitaes that he's planted that provide screening to anybody to his left, right if you're looking at the property from the roadway. The third photograph is a picture from the roadway itself, very front of the roadway, showing the berm and the vegetation. Again, the retaining wall is not visible from the roadway, from directly to the front. There is no house directly across from him. And it's not visible for any house to the left or to the right or across the street. This retaining wall is not visible. The only time it is visible, if you continue to flip through the photographs that I've submitted, I think it's the fifth photograph, shows the level of the retaining wall up through the, that's not the photographs, but that doesn't really show. But on the in the photographs I submitted today, it shows that the area and the height of the retaining wall at the very front of the property at its closest point is only a couple of feet high. It's not over 4 feet. But at its highest at the corner, it certainly is. It's definitely above that area. You'll see in photograph 6 is the area looking back from his yard to the retaining wall that was constructed so we could put a family swing set there and more level off his yard than it exists. When he purchased the property, it had a large acceleration or escalation up to his driveway. His driveway was much steeper than it is now. He's cut it down. It's much safer, and he's put the granite curving in there. This retaining wall was constructed for several reasons. First, to give him some privacy, and what he intended to do prior to receiving a letter from the building department was to face this stone wall with stones. I've attached at the end of this a copy of his pool area and the pool property and the structures that exist in the back of his lot. That you can see that they're all faced with stone, or I don't know what you call that. It's a veneer of stone that you put on it. That's what he intended to do to this wallway, to this construction wallway, before he received a letter from the building department, is to finish it off nice, and well as to put a row of boxwoods up the driveway and up along the thing to further screen it, even though you can't see it. In this particular case, because of the dimension and shape of his lot in the front, he needs a frontage requirement because it's 26.1 feet in one area and 22.1 feet from the edge of his lot in another area. Again, my client believes that the shape of his lot, the unique topography of the land, is different than every lot in the subdivision. No other lot along Mount Auburn Street has the same condition. If this area of the circle was part of his lot, this retaining wall would be fully compliant with the bylaws because it's set back more than 50 feet from the roadway. And if that was part of his lot, it would be more than 50 feet from his lot line, but it's not, because that was part of the original design that was included within the roadway itself. We believe that he spent considerable amount of money finishing his lot and doing a great job in terms of how the lot looks and the plantings of his lot, his pool area, as well as this retaining wall. He spent over close to $35,000, between 30 and 35, constructing this area and grading this area to look the way it does. And he intends, if the board permits him to keep it the way it is, to veneer, face it with the stone and put boxwoods front trees in front of it to make it even look better than it does now. We believe that relief can be granted here without derogating from the intent and purpose of the bylaw. We believe that the shape of the lot, the topography of the lot that exists is unique. The area of his berm that's constructed in the front of his lot also existed on his lot at the time he bought it. And that's unique. It doesn't exist on this roadway or in this zoning district other than his lot. It's depicted on the two last photographs that I've submitted, shows that that berm area was there and the retaining wall was there when he purchased it. The abutters have claimed that it wasn't, but it was. They just couldn't see it because it's where it is depicted on his lot back from the roadway. Those are the two things. That's the retaining wall that was there, but it was a retaining wall built of boulders, big boulders and stones, as opposed to a concrete one, which is what's there now.
Do you know the dimensions of that piece of that retaining wall right there that's coming off of the?
I don't know the dimensions. I don't know if my client has an idea of it. He can give you an idea of the size of it.
Is there any way you can go on the Google Maps to show the history? This is like from the street view?
You cannot see the wall from any of the abutters. You cannot see the wall from the roadway except if you're at the very base of his driveway. On the pictures that I've submitted, I did take a picture that shows the wall as if you're at the base of his driveway on the roadway. It's 1, 2, 3, 4.
Was that coming from the
5.
west? Was that coming from the west?
It's like the 6th or 7th photograph in, this one here. That's taken from the base of his road looking to the left up his property. So and from that view, it's visible. From every other view, it's not. It's not a view from the abutting lot to the left. It's not a view from across the street. It's not a view from left-hand part.
You go to, if you
you're
drop the
heading
little
down
person,
Auburn and the house is on the right,
if
you
you
can see it.
just go to street view, drop the
So,
person on the bottom right.
Again, our position in this case is that
Up and drop them right in front of the house.
had not been for the shape of his lot and topography of this roadway as approved as Mount Auburn
There's
Street
like a
with that
time
circle,
thing on the top left.
this retaining wall will be fully compliant. He merely replaced it, again, he replaced it with a bigger concrete wall for reasons for his family and for reasons of his privacy and for structure. He didn't want to put up a fence that's going to derogate over a period of time. This will not. And it will look much nicer than it does now if he's permitted to finish it by the stone finish and the plantings and vegetation in front of it. Again,
Facing the wrong way. There we go.
the topography and size of the lot in this area is unique. There is no other lot with that circle there that would be necessary to measure the frontage from the literal enforcement of the bylaw. Literal enforcement of the bylaw would cause him substantial hardship. Having to take this wall down and it would be extremely costly, and it cost him over $30,000 to construct it to begin with. Relief can be granted without substantial detriment to the public good and without nullifying or substantially derogating from the intent and the purpose of the bylaw. I've seen a couple of objections that were filed by abutters relative to this. I don't know if they were objections. One of them is not clear. But they claim that this is a gradual slope, and it wasn't that. That's not true based upon the photographs that I've submitted. There was a retaining wall there. There was a berm there that existed from the roadway. He merely replaced it with a bigger retaining wall that exists now. Had it not been for this circle, And I should say to the board, it was the town engineer that asked him, he pulled a permit regarding that circle so that he could construct this the way it was. The town engineer asked him to pull a permit because the town didn't want to maintain that circle on Mount Auburn Street and to make it a straight roadway and to put granite curbing all along there, which he did at his expense. He put the utilities all underground at his expense. He put all the vegetation underground at his expense. And he did all of that, and he also had to maintain some area for neighbors and access. He did all of that at his expense without any difficulty. But it was the town engineering department that asked him to do that. Again, if that area was part of his lot, this wall would be fully compliant. You want to say something?
Yes. Steve Willett, 20 Mount Auburn Street. So I purchased this house in 2017. I basically gutted the existing house that was there, and it was too far gone structurally. So I built myself a new house. Basically what I did is the original driveway was too steep, so I moved my driveway over to what you see now. When I excavated my driveway, it was all boulders, and I basically left the boulders there for my landscaping. My wall is not retaining more than 4 feet of material. So I only have 4 feet of material pulled on the back side of that wall. If you look at one of the pictures that shows my actual front yard, what I was trying to do with this is have a 4-foot wall and then have my rest privacy so I could veneer it, stone it, and give myself some privacy as well. Again, I thought as long as it wasn't structurally holding up 4 feet of material, I was good with it. I didn't want to put a fence. I didn't want to do a 4-foot wall and then put a fence on it because fences deteriorate over time. And if you walk my property, I have stonework everywhere. Again, I'm not going to leave the wall looking like concrete. If you guys allow me to keep this, I'm going to veneer it, put boxwoods, so you're really not going to see that much of the wall. Thank you.
How big was that retaining wall that comes off the house? That small retaining wall before all the screening?
The existing boulder wall?
This one right here.
Can I?
Come on up. Which I'm assuming is the one you're saying that was pre-existing.
Yeah, so this, when I did my driveway, I unearthed my whole front yard. So you see where this machine is up here? That was all ledge and all material. So when I put my driveway in, I unearthed this stuff.
Okay.
Basically, what I did is my telephone pole was on one of my neighbor's properties. I had a discussion with them and told them I would remove the telephone pole from their property. And basically what I did is I went all through here to my telephone pole and put all my electric underground.
Okay.
So by doing all that, I took my yard and created it. So if you look at the picture, you can see what my yard looks like now.
Yep.
It's no, the other one. Yep. That. So basically, my electric now, I ran basically underneath my ground when I moved everything. And the whole purpose, again, for this is to give myself some privacy, and instead of doing a fence, I ended up doing the wall.
So again, this is the pre-existing retaining wall you're referring to, yes?
No. So there's no.
Because you said there was a pre-existing retaining wall.
No, so when I cut my driveway in, this is all ledge. When I excavated, this is the stuff that was basically there holding it up.
Okay.
Because originally, this was all material, and if you look at the original picture, do you have the original driveway?
Well, so
Yeah, I think it's the last photograph they have.
We were just looking it up on Google, on the Google Maps.
So if you look at where the driveway was, you know, now my driveway is over here.
Okay, so you cut it.
So there,
When you say
so
there's a
then there wasn't
pre-existing
a
retaining wall, where is that because this is where the new wall is, right?
Yeah, the new wall is basically right in line with this.
Okay, so where's the pre-existing retaining wall that you were referring to?
It's the boulders that were there when I unearthed them.
So they can't see the retaining wall. No one can see a retaining wall.
No. Basically, what it is was just all the boulders that were there. When I cut my driveway in, to where it is now, so it's not as steep, I unearthed all these and I used them as the
Okay.
retaining wall. I put a berm here, and I put arborvitaes on top of it to try to give myself some privacy.
So you built this up as well?
Correct.
You did build this up,
When you
okay.
bought the house in 2017, there was no retaining wall?
No, there wasn't a wall there.
Okay.
Jamie, look at, you can see right up there.
So where this machine is, the original grade was probably a few feet higher than this. So basically what I did is I put arborvitaes here, and then I went along my property and built a big berm. When I did my electric, I cut everything out, and I basically moved it so my front yard is bigger.
So when you say that, when your abutters say there was no pre-existing retaining wall, and you said there was,
I said there was boulders there that we acted.
The reason why the boulders were there is when I originally did my infrastructure, I unearthed them and dug them up, and those basically were the retaining wall for when I cut my driveway in.
Okay, so
But from a layman's term, if I'm not a landscaper, I don't know construction. From a layman's perspective, as your neighbor, if I were to say there was not a pre-existing retaining wall, would that be a true statement?
Yes.
Yes.
Somebody did
Okay.
not
Yeah, there wasn't a
retaining
built
wall.
retaining wall there.
Okay.
Yeah, there were boulders there. Any other questions of the board?
So, a building permit was never pulled for the wall?
Correct.
So there was no structural, was,
Because again.
Because your understanding was it wasn't holding
it's
more
not
than
retaining
4
more than
feet.
4 feet of material.
Okay.
was it,
Because I
And
was
you-
using it as a wall/fence, because I didn't want to put a fence up, so I figured I was good.
And you didn't-
And I should have talked to Jose,
So
and I did.
a fence, and you don't think there's a height restriction for a fence?
I think it's 7 feet for a fence, I think.
And how tall is your concrete wall?
So right there, the highest point is 9.7.
So you don't think, but, so if you're using, even if you're using it as a fence at 9.7,
So
still above?
if I do a 4-foot wall, and then I can do another 7 feet, then, yeah, I'd be close to it.
Again, the only reason why there's a setback issue is because it's from the lot line itself as opposed to the roadway. It's within
more than
40
just the
feet.
setback issue, is it not? It's an unpermitted structure.
It's called a structure because it's over 4 feet, yes.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Unpermitted.
Yeah.
I think that's our biggest issue.
No matter where you put it, if you put it in your backyard more than 40 feet away from
We've had
the
other
road,
petitions.
it still has the same problem, correct?
Yes.
It would still need a building permit, would have needed a building permit at that
Which,
point.
which he applied for.
For the wall?
After Jose, I had a discussion with him, I filled out, did the permit, I had to get a surveyor on board to come survey, and I had to get an engineer to come, so I filled the permit out after I had a discussion with
And where's that stand?
him.
That permit was denied immediately
Because
of the violation. So we have two things here. One is the building permit. The other one is the zoning. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. So we have two situations here. One is a building permit. In the building code, a retaining wall is deemed as a structure 4 feet from the top of the wall to the bottom of the footing. So that's from the bottom of the footing. In our bylaws, a structure is any retaining wall over 4 feet. Unfortunately, the issue here is that the house itself is already it's only 5 feet short from the maximum front yard. So in the bylaws, 195, can you hear me?
Yep.
Oh, I'm sorry. On the bylaw, 195.11 specifically state that you cannot put a structure in front of in the front yard if it's greater than 4 feet. So it is unfortunate that we found out after the fact that when we responded to the neighbor's concern, the wall was already up.
So it's 2 too tall, and it's in the front yard in front of another structure.
That is correct.
Okay.
We're not dealing with the building permit issue tonight. We didn't ask for relief of that in our relief. We just asked for the variance because that was one of the reasons for the denial. We can go back to the building department and get this wall engineered and discuss the issue of the permit for him afterwards.
But I guess the question here is, well, if you had known that that was the front setback, and you known that that was a structure, you wouldn't have built it there.
Well,
After, even before before.
Again, I should have had the conversation, I didn't. Anything over 4 feet, if I do something over 4 feet and I'm retaining 4 feet of material, it's considered structural. I'm not retaining 4 feet of material, because I'm using it as a fence as well.
Yeah, no.
And I did that so I could veneer it with stone, and it's my privacy.
Yeah, and I get that, but the problem for me is that with the variance, the uniqueness was self-induced. You
What is your
created the
grounds,
uniqueness.
what is your argument for the variance? Because you know this one of 3 requirements for the variance. So what is your argument for your variance approval?
Well, I made the argument in my presentation, and that is that this lot is unique in its topography and in its shape. It's the only lot in this area that has the frontage area with a circle in front of it that doesn't exist, and the elevation of this lot that originally exists was much higher, much steeper than what it existed beforehand. So this lot is different than every other lot on that street, and for that matter, in that zoning district. There's no other lot that has that I don't know, for lack of a better word, it's not a cul-de-sac, but it's a circle that is not there. And that's the problem. If the circle isn't constructed, his retaining wall is fully compliant in terms of the frontage requirements. Then we just need a building permit.
But it'd still be in front of the house, though.
Yeah, it's so again, before I forget, I want to distinguish what is a fence and what is a retaining wall. In our town, we don't have any bylaws restricting somebody on a fence regarding the height of the fence. So somebody can put, after 7 feet, you get a permit for the fence, but you are not restricted if you go 7.5 feet or 8 feet.
You just need a permit.
You just need a permit. A retaining wall like this one is defined in the building code. It is also defined in our bylaws as a structure. And I kind of forgot his comment. Attorney Gallen, if you don't mind, I think you say something about not needing a permit for.
No, my comment was that this is only the discussion of the frontage requirement of the bylaw, which is what we're seeking the variance for. We're not dealing with the building permit issue of the structure at this point.
So we have 2 things here. One is violation to 198.11, which is the definition of a structure based on that bylaw, and then you have the front yard definition as well that prohibit structures greater than 4 feet being in the front yard of the house, which is what happened here. If this hole has been less than 4 feet in the front yard, it wouldn't be a violation because it's not the definition said 4 feet or greater. So I just want to clarify because I'm 5'4" and I was at the house with Mr. Roulette. What is the height of this wall at the highest point? 9'7" from the top to the bottom footing.
Very corner that you can see from that picture.
And that's from at the footing, bottom of the footing.
Is it to the footing or is that just to the exposed?
Visible.
That's visible wall 9/7.
So it goes deeper.
There's a footing underneath it.
So that would be 10 feet.
The height includes the footing.
Yeah.
Okay. So we're talking over 10 feet.
Yeah.
Okay.
Anything over 6 feet, it have to be engineered by a structural engineer, and so there is a lot of variables here. But I think the most critical one is really that the house is already 5 feet short from the front yard, and now the wall itself exceed that by the linear footage from the corner.
I'm sorry, you said the house is short 5 feet?
So the house, if you look at the certified plot plan that it was provided, the father end of the wall, the little jog there, is 45 feet to the radius. Yeah. And that,
45.8, yeah, it's
This here?
Yes, it's 45.8 from the lot line.
There shouldn't be any issue with that.
Yeah, no, I don't think he means short in the sense of
no.
you're missing it. Short as in you're not
that you, so the house is already, if you look at it the way it is on this plan, on this certified,
Inches to play with. So anything past the house would encroach on your setback, is what I think he's trying to say.
It's not a typical front yard setback violation. 195.11 says that you cannot have any structures between the front of your house and the street line. That's front yard area. That's what we're dealing with here. Not a traditional front yard setback of 40 feet.
So the whole, you can't put a shed in your front yard.
Correct,
issue.
correct.
Right.
You can't, the zoning board's dealt with this in the past with pools on corner lots, garages can't be in front yards.
No structures.
Right.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yep. Is there,
Other comments?
I don't have any letters, I don't think. Anyone in the audience would like to speak on this matter? Please come to the podium, state your name and address. No?
Someone's coming.
Madam Chairman, for the record, my name is Attorney Stephen Lentini, and I represent one of the abutters who's Donald McDonald and his wife, who's not here tonight because she isn't doing well. And they live at 268 Rangeway Road in Billerica, but they own the abutting piece of property. It's a sliver of property, which is right here, that they use to access. They own all this acreage.
Okay.
In the back here.
Wow. And then it's still around.
And primarily, Donald just came to see me this week with regard to this hearing, so kind of short notice for me, and I think he's had his issues with his neighbor here during the construction process. And I know you've got letters from some of the neighbors with regard to the aesthetics and the history here with regard to the retaining wall. Obviously, Mr. McDonald doesn't live there, so he's not impacted by the visuals of the retaining wall. So we're not going to get into that, but he is impacted by the cul-de-sac. That's why he came to see me, and I was interested to see when Attorney Gallant was using as part of the hardship the issue with regard to the cul-de-sac now being all landscaped and so forth. And when Donald came to see me, I thought that was unusual when he showed me the photographs, and then I took a ride out there to look at it as well. I'm just going to share this with the board.
While he's passing that out, Evan, that circle, is that town property though?
It still remains town property.
Still remains town property?
That's what I'm gonna-
Okay.
That's what I want to share
Okay.
with the board.
Thank you.
History that I found anyway. Thank you. Somebody could tell me if I'm wrong. Obviously, I'm not digging deep into the records of the town of Chelmsford, but the first sheet that you see there is the original subdivision plan. It's a 4-sheet subdivision, but it was created in 1965. So that's the first sheet that doesn't show Mount Auburn Street. The second sheet, which is labeled sheet, I'm losing all my sheets here. The fourth sheet is sheet 4 of 4, where you see the cul-de-sac with Mount Auburn Street, and what was then at the end of the cul-de-sac, lot number 39, which was the larger lot, which now is the bulk of lot 39A, which the petitioner owns. Later in 1978, Mount Auburn Street was continued and a new subdivision was created off of that. That's the 1978 plan, which is the second plan there, which is just a plan for Joseph Johnston, which created a bunch of lots to the rear. But those are subdivision plans approved by the town So those are public ways. And then you see the last Form A plan, which clearly labels the fact that Mount Auburn Street is a public way in the town of Chelmsford. That created lot 39A, which is where the petitioner's home is now, and showed the earlier home that was there that he had torn down when he bought the lot in 2017, and where his new home is located. 39B is the lot that Mr. McDonald bought with his wife Phyllis in 1998, which he uses to access his land behind. And then lot 14, the abutting lot, is the new lot. And that, excuse me, the lot in that new subdivision, that second subdivision from 1978. And then the last plan is the existing conditions plan. That's the subject before your board here tonight. And I understand what he's saying, and I still find it unusual that a DPW director gets to tell an individual petitioner that he can tear up a public way and basically take de facto ownership of it, which is essentially what I see that he's done by landscaping it, putting shrubberies. When I was out there the other night, I saw his irrigation system seemed to be working within that public way, which is still, in most communities, and I would assume in Chelmsford too, it takes town meeting action to discontinue a public way, and then that public way would be ceded to the ownership of the abutting owners. But that's a public way right now, that's town of Chelmsford ownership. So to use that as part of your hardship and the unique qualities of your lot, when you look at that as-built plan or existing conditions plan that you have in front of you tonight, and it's labeling landscape area, landscape area, landscape area, all that landscaping being done by the petitioner on land owned by the town of Chelmsford, and you have all the nice, pretty photographs. He obviously has invested a lot of money into it. And like I said, he's taken de facto ownership of it. But that's town-owned property that's impacting my client's access to it from what my client has told me since he's owned it since 1998. Some of the neighbors, that's an area where children in the neighborhood used to ride over the paved portion. It was a nice, safe area to ride their bicycles when they're learning to ride their bikes and so forth. So maybe Mr. Belansky can tell us if that's a tradition here in Chelmsford, that the DPW director gets to make unilateral decisions about when people can tear up public ways and use and basically cede ownership to
I know that
individual property owners.
The applicant,
it's news to me.
You mentioned that you have something from the DPW. I'm not entirely surprised by that. I don't know how long ago it was. I don't have any direct knowledge or involvement in that, but I'm not entirely surprised.
It's baffling to me that would never happen.
Yeah, okay,
From my experience.
okay.
Aside from that, I have some photographs too. And again, I mentioned that there's been some goings on between my client and other counsel.
We've
been friendly. Yeah. Other counsel has written, not me, but my client has another counsel who's just not comfortable in this kind of environment, that's written to the abutter about some, and I'll give you this pass, I'll give it to the chair, and pass it down. There's been serious detriment on the property line with regard to some of the work along the edge, which has seriously jeopardized the border. So you've got some, I'd like to call it a retaining wall, but it's really just compromising the edge of my client's property to the edge of the petitioner's property, and there's been a constant issue of dumping debris and so forth onto his property. But I know that's not the jurisdiction of this board, and that's a private matter between our clients. But what's going on in the cul-de-sac does impact my client in his ability to, access his property conveniently.
Okay. Did you have, let him finish, if he had anything
Yeah,
else to add?
I'll cede the microphone to John.
Okay, yeah.
We want to make it clear, in no way are we eliminating Mr. McDonald's rights to his property or access to his property. My client cooperated with Mr. McDonald when he was building his house to build him an access way to his property to make sure that he maintained that. That circle, while it doesn't exist, he pulled a permit from the town to actually do the work he did. Doesn't eliminate it as a public way or a street, and doesn't eliminate his access to his lot, and my client never intended to do that. The fact of the matter is that the roadway isn't constructed, or that little circle isn't, but his access and his rights to his access and his public way still exist. It's not affected by, has nothing to do with the retaining wall, but it's not affected by my client's property.
Wait, do you know what year he converted that circle to landscape? 18?
Do you have, like, did you submit something that shows you have, you?
No, that was going to be an issue tonight, but we have the permit's on record at the town.
Well,
he pulled the permit to do that.
Not the permit.
You pulled a permit to do that, to assume?
Yes.
So I had John Noonan and McDowell did all the engineering for my property. I basically went to engineering, and engineering told me the cul-de-sac was supposed to disappear when that road went through. And the original contractor that did the project never removed that circle. So I was informed that if I do what I'm doing, I pulled a permit, he said it's one less thing we have to maintain. I asked John Noonan, do I go in front of the town and try to acquire the piece? He said, just leave it alone, plant some grass and some trees, and call it a day. So that's what I did.
But it doesn't eliminate Mr. McDonald's rights to the access and that access way. He did build it when he constructed his property.
We had conversations, and I made him an access area to get in there.
Of course.
That's what that access is.
Where the cones are.
Out of curiosity, and no bearing on this petition, just out of curiosity, have you tried to ascertain ownership of that piece or move your property line?
I think this is gonna be the next step.
Okay,
Yes.
just out of curiosity, okay.
So I guess the question is, do we have anything in writing?
I don't know if it's relative at any point, because his property line is still where it is, regardless if he owns it or doesn't own it. I mean, that's not in front of us.
I think it does, because the argument he's making is it's unique because of that. That's the argument they're making. They're saying that the
His
road is
property
all
line
the way
is his
up.
property line.
No, I know, but he's making the argument for the variance that because they moved the front yard, all that road away from the front line, now it makes it unique because
No.
if you had
He's saying
measured
it's unique because the circle is there on the map.
Can we just ask him what his argument is, since we have different
Right?
interpretations?
You're saying it's unique because the circle is there by your property line, by definition, correct?
I think so.
Yeah, that's where it makes his
Oh,
property line too
my
close.
argument of uniqueness relates to the topography of the land to begin with, based upon the elevation from the roadway up to the houseway.
Which he changed, correct?
Yes, but it
Okay.
as existed when he purchased the property, as well as the shape of the lot and the actual construction of the roadway, which is where the roadway actually is, and this circle that.
What about the shape of the lot are you referring to that makes it unique?
Well, it's the front area that actually it shows there as part of a roadway, which is not
So
there.
the circle.
But he made it not part of the roadway.
No, we didn't. We pulled the permit from the town to do the work in that area. That's what we did. It's still part of the roadway.
Danny, his property line did not move, and that still impacts where his setback is dictated.
Yes, exactly, which is
And
why
that
we need the
which
variance.
makes it unique.
If we own that land, which we're not proposing to do that right now, but if we did, then this
wouldn't have a
retaining wall would be
setback
more than, would be 50 feet or more from the front area of the lot.
Wait
Yeah,
a
but
second,
he's
there's
making
more
the
to it, right?
uniqueness of it.
There's two things
I
with
don't
it.
get it.
Within the height of the wall in front of the house.
Yes.
The height of the
That's
wall in
another-
front of the house.
That's a different.
Yes, so there's two things. It's
Yeah,
not
that's two
just
things.
about
What-
where the lot lines are.
We're stating that the property is unique because of the topography and the shape.
Shape of the lot.
And what defines the
constructed.
shape? That half circle, and is that what makes it unique, or?
No, the fact that
'Cause outside of that, it's a rectangle, right? With the-
the fact of the existing conditions of the lot, the fact that it shows that area that isn't actually there. That if the roadway as constructed on Mount Auburn Street is shown on the plan, we're 50 feet or more from the actual roadway.
But you,
Which is what we're dealing with a frontage requirement from the front of the lot. That's what we're dealing with here. We don't have a roadway that goes along that cul-de-sac, along that circle area. We don't have any houses along that area because it doesn't exist. And according to the engineering department, when they extended the roadway, it was supposed to go away. That's the issue. So now we have a lot that has that area that really doesn't exist.
Also a structure in front of the home.
yes.
Right, Jose?
Which
Am
is
I right?
which is the retaining wall. Now, the letter we got from Jose was you need a frontage variance for the
use the
wall.
roadway.
Wasn't, we need
still
something
use the
other,
roadway.
the other relief is different than the variance relief.
You can still use the roadway.
But the
still
argument,
use the roadway.
the argument for the whole variance is that
Evan, can't he still
That's
use
part
the
of it.
roadway?
Who used the roadway?
What
To
do you mean
measure-
by use the roadway?
From a point of measurement, you're saying you're supposed to use the roadway as point of measurement?
No, you're not supposed to. Usually,
property line.
the property line goes up to the roadway within a 15 or 10-foot
Right-of-way.
difference for the right-of-way within the
right-of-way.
town.
There's a difference.
That's
There's a
usually where you
right-of-way.
measure the frontage requirement for the dimensional requirements of a variance. In this case, the roadway doesn't go there. That's my point.
This is a classic case where
Again, we're going back to the lot shape.
the survey lot lines with the cul-de-sac
Yep.
on paper are a technical zoning violation. On the ground, visually, if you drive by, you would never know
Yep, no, I get
that the cul-de-sac is the property line. So it's a very technical zoning violation that is somewhat unique in its application. And then obviously this specific circumstance is somewhat unique. But it's a classic case of literal zoning interpretation based upon survey maps and what's literally on the ground.
Yep.
Exactly. I wish I said that. That's our position. That's why it's
If
different.
I'm- if-
In terms of the other issue of the structure, we can deal with that issue separately through the building department, but that's not what we're here for today.
I just want to, because I know we're concentrated on the cul-de-sac and the street, but the violation here is that the retaining wall exceeds 4 feet.
Yep.
And is in front of in the front yard of the house, which is a violation. Whether that cul-de-sac was there or not,
Yep.
it doesn't really matter. It's, the violation is the retaining wall, and that's what I think,
is the variance for.
Yeah, but
Right.
they asked, they asked about the front yard setback in the actual.
Well, that's what we were told by Jose that we had to need a variance for. You didn't send me a letter that said that you have a structure on your front lawn and you need a variance for purposes of the front structure of the roadway from the front. You said you need a variance for the frontage requirement to leave the wall where it is. That's what we did. So, I mean, look at your letter that you sent to us and your emails. In none of those did you reference the second point. Now, that's a issue that we can deal with separately.
the intent of the letter, I cannot physically go and make your client remove the retaining wall. That's the reason the board is here. They see what is in front of them, and they opine or they rule however they feel like.
That's what it's asking for.
Need relief for location and frontage.
So, requesting an after-the-fact variance to keep and maintain an existing structure within the front yard setback. So that sounds like the problem. It says existing structure within the front yard setback.
Yes,
Yes.
this
The
is
wall
considered a
being
structure.
more than 4 feet tall
Exactly.
makes it a structure, so that's one thing. And a reduction to the front yard setback requirement, which brings the whole
Circle, half
cul-de-sac
circle,
into
yep.
the
Exactly.
equation.
For an unpermitted retaining wall.
Yes.
And any other relief deemed necessary.
Yeah, we always throw that in.
That's
as a catch-all.
always in
That's
there,
just the
yeah.
legalese.
Yep.
So,
All right, is there anyone else who wants to speak on this? Before I read all these lovely letters?
Yep, someone's coming up.
Hi. Hi, Hi, I'm Doug Gallant. I'm 15 Mount Auburn Street, across the street from Mr. Roulette. And I'd like to mention a couple of things. One is when the Mr. McDonald's issue, when the cul-de-sac was removed, he didn't leave Mr. McDonald's portion of the cul-de-sac. He took that out totally. That was gone, and he had to reestablish that per Mr. McDonald's request. That's one thing. The other thing is, I'm not clear here. I understand there's a big cement wall up there. That's one issue, but he has raised the property level quite a bit. Is it also is that also the problem, that he's raised the land? You know, at the back side of that cul-de-sac, you can see from the pictures, there was on the right side of Mr. McCaffrey's driveway, the previous owner's driveway, there was a rock there, right? And that rock would probably be about 6 feet. The top of that rock would probably be 6 feet underground now, if you look at all the materials that's been put there. So seems like there might be. I'm just confused on. Is it just the cement wall that we're talking here? Or are we also talking at the back of the other thing?
Just the cement.
Because
right now we're just referring to
Yeah.
his wall and where it's positioned on the property.
okay, that's all. I wrote something in. You guys got any questions on it? I'll be happy to
Before you
answer.
leave, a question for you. Can you see the rock wall from your yard or house?
You mean
The retaining wall,
you mean
sorry.
the cement wall?
Yes.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I've been to the property.
Okay.
Can't see it from any of those.
Okay.
But you ascertain that you can see it from your property.
Okay. Thank you. Anyone else?
I understand it's not the purview of this board to rule one way or the other on the cul-de-sac itself and whether he properly is taking de facto ownership of the cul-de-sac. But Evan, would it be possible, if my client is still concerned that his rights are being impeded, and I know it's the town's rights too, because it is a public way, that if he asked me to, if I could have a meeting with you on that issue?
You can certainly meet with me. My suggestion is you just submit something formal in writing.
Yep.
It's likely going to have to involve counsel.
Yeah, I know most communities, they don't let you go directly to town council. It would have to be through a town official. That's why I was indicating. Okay, thank you.
Anyone else? Okay. I will read the letters from the abutters. This is from Linda McCumber, probably mutilating that. I don't see an address. Just says the photos are intended to provide more insight to the request for a variance of the above address. All photos are screenshots from Google Maps. Variance request cites unique topography of the land and also claims a wall stood on the same footprint for many years. Both of these statements are inaccurate. Excuse me. And then she has some of the similar photos that you presented. Photos above are the previous home at that address and the section along the driveway of the replacement home. As shown, there was no retaining wall in August of 2023. The previous home had a level front yard and a gentle slope to the street, as does the home next door. It appears that this wall is much taller than the level lay of the land behind and around it. It also increases in height partway down the driveway. An unearthed berm several feet in height was constructed between 18 and 20 Mount Auburn Street on 20 Mount Auburn property for privacy. In the photo above, you can make out a portion of the slope of this berm. The height of the berm was extended across the front of the property, resulting in a much higher embankment facing the street than was original in the lay of the land. Note that the chain link fence on the left follows the original lay of the land. The embankment created facing the street is much higher than the original gentle slope of the land. As the pictures above show, there was no pre-existing wall. The current wall extends a quarter of the way into the required setback, out of character with the rest of the neighborhood. That huge, unattractive cement wall was built by the owner in a desire for privacy after raising earthen berms surrounding his lot. Respectfully submitted, Linda McCumber. Anyone wants to see the pictures? This one is from Doug and Delena Gallant, 15 Mount Auburn Street. Dear Chelmsford Zoning Board of Appeals, we'd like to express our support for your request to have this retaining wall meet requirements as set by the town. In its current location and form, we consider it an eyesore that detracts from the beauty of the neighborhood, 20 Mount Auburn Street, and thus is a detriment to the neighborhood. Steve Owlett has had surveyors verify his property boundaries multiple times over the years. He even informed us that the property line is not the curb, as the town owned the first several feet back from the curb. Based on this, we believe he is aware of his property boundaries and regulations. In response to the variance request provided by Steve Owlett here are a couple of other things to consider. One, unique topography of the land. The current topology of the land has been completely designed by Steve J. Owlett. The slope and elevation around the retaining wall is grossly different due to his excavating works. We would not be surprised if 10 feet of elevation has been added in some areas by the addition of retaining walls on the front side. Previously, the topology was a natural continuation of the neighboring properties. See photos attached. One picture showing the topology between 18 and 20, the other between 20 and 22 Mount Auburn Street, the year 2012. Pictures are from Google Maps. 2, the retaining wall is a replacement from an earlier wall which stood on the same footprint for many years. There was no such wall when the property was purchased by Mr. Owlett. 3, substantial hardship. Correcting this zoning issue is well within Steve J. Owlett's capabilities. The topography was artificially altered as the current grade was established by adding several feet of fill to raise the height of the land. The issue was not caused by natural land conditions. It was self-created. Respectfully, Doug and Delena Gallant. Pictures attached if you'd like to see. Department of Public Works. Office has reviewed the project plans and documents for the following comments. DPW engineering has no comments. Fire prevention has no concerns. Conservation has no concerns.
It says DPW's comments for consideration.
Thank you. Yes, let me revert back. Comments for consideration. DPW would like to note that upon review of the submission and existing conditions plot plan, there is extensive landscaping, pillars, light posts, and other infrastructures installed within the town's right-of-way. To DPW's knowledge, there are no recorded permits for the work that took place or infrastructure installed within the town's right-of-way. It should be noted that in the event that the town decides to utilize the area within the right-of-way, it would be within the town's jurisdiction to remove any of this private infrastructure or landscaping within the town's right-of-way. Tax assessor has no concerns. The police have no concerns. The water district has no concerns. Board of Health has no concerns. And that's it. Are there any Any other questions from the board?
I was just thinking, should the first step be to get an engineer to approve the wall?
That's not what's in front of us.
Not before us.
That's not before
Nope,
us.
that's not
okay.
before us.
We'll just forget that.
We have to go with what is in front of us. Any other questions?
I mean, there was
Motion to close?
There was a letter that from.
It said confidential, so I wasn't gonna read it. Did I?
Yeah, no.
Yeah.
You want to pass it on?
Yeah.
Yep. All right, can I take a motion to close?
It says the same thing.
I'm just saying what it says on the top.
Oh, I read that.
And it was attached, it was sent to us via email. It's the same one that was sent to us via email.
Okay. I wasn't sure if that was a new one.
No.
Yeah, I've seen that.
All right. Make a motion to close the public hearing?
Yeah, I'll make a motion to close the public hearing.
Second? Anyone? Anyone?
I'll second.
Thank you, Ken.
Sure, no problem.
Take a roll call for vote. Danny, how do you vote?
Yes. Yes.
Charlie?
Yes.
Yes. Stephen? Yes. Mr. Glenn, how do you vote to close the public hearing?
Yes.
It's unanimous.
Unanimous.
Any further discussion? How do we feel?
My one question is, if we were to uphold,
Mm-hmm.
what is the remediation? Like, he's got to figure that out. Okay.
If we were to,
If we were to deny
Yeah,
their
yes,
variance.
Yes. Yeah. If we were to oh yeah,
Deny
that's
the
right.
variance
Yeah,
request.
it's not a.
Yeah, we're
So if
denying
we
their
were to
variance
deny it-
request. So, ultimately, I mean, he could, go to land court and appeal our decision, maybe, right? I mean, that's an option. Or tear down the wall. Is that my understanding correct, Mr. Irvin?
Yeah, I mean, if you deny the variance, then Jose needs to continue with enforcement to achieve compliance.
Yeah. So that's what it is.
And based on the merits of what's presented in front of us, I don't know about you guys, but I don't see the meeting the standard for a variance.
No. I don't either. No, it does not.
What about you, Steve?
I'm Mr. Variance all day, every day.
I know.
I mean, the lot shape is not that odd. I mean, especially if you bought something on a cul-de-sac, it's got a cul-de-sac and then it's a rectangle beyond that. But I mean, the hardship of having something too tall in your front yard that you put in your front yard is kind of, I don't know how you extend the hardship to that.
It's kind of self-imposed.
Yeah.
That sounds like a motion. Anybody?
I will make a motion to approve the after-the-fact variance to keep and maintain an existing structure within the front yard setback, and a reduction to the front yard setback requirement for the existing unpermitted retaining wall for 20 Mount Auburn Street with respect to all the letters read into the record.
Second the motion by Danny. Take a vote. How do you vote, Danny? To approve. How do you vote? Charlie? Yes.
No.
No? Mr. Glenn, how do you approve? How do you vote?
Can he repeat that motion? It was very confusing.
A motion to approve the variance. How do you vote?
No.
And I vote no. So that's 4-1. Motion does not Variance does not pass. Any questions?
Did this require a supermajority?
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Yes?
Yes.
Then Danny's
Thank you, you
vote
too.
Doesn't matter.
is not valid.
Well, it's not, it doesn't matter.
Doesn't
It's not
matter.
close. It's,
Have a good night.
it's 4-1 against.
Your vote is the one that counts.
All right.
Yeah. It required a supermajority to pass, and it got the inverse of that, so it's not close.
All right.
12:30.
Last but not least are the minutes for May 7th. Are we ready to approve the minutes?
I read them once.
Yeah, I did too.
Okay.
I delegated my minutes to
good.
Charlie.
Any comments, any notes?
Do you have any problem with that?
Any
I have no problems.
No problem.
notes to the meetings?
from
All right.
May 7th.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Motion to approve.
Motion
Minutes
made
from
by
May 7th.
Charlie,
I'll second it.
second by Peter. Roll call to vote. Danny, how do you vote? Peter?
Yes.
Charlie?
Yes.
Mr. Glenn, how do you vote on approving
Yes.
the meeting? Yes? And
Yes.
I vote yes. That's unanimous. All right.
Motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn. Roll call. Danny?
Do we need a roll call for that?
Peter? Yes.
Yes.
Charlie? Yes.
Yes.
Stephen? Yes. Mr. Glenn, how do you vote to adjourn?
Yes.
Yes. And
Yes.
I say yes. The meeting has adjourned.
Right.